Pastor Robert Ayers is suing his ex-wife, Anita Davis Ayers, for cashing a settlement check without his authorization. Anita admits she cashed the check, but claims Robert doesn't pay child support.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 575 on the calendar in the matter of Ayers versus Davis Ayers. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Ayers, the defendant is your former wife, and it is your claim that she appropriated an insurance check that was for you in the amount of $600. She cashed it and used it for her own purposes. You want the money back.
That is correct.
Mrs. Ayers says she did it. She did it because you haven't paid any child support, and you owed her a whole bunch of money, and she needed it. That's your defense?
Yes.
Okay. When were you married? When were you divorced?
We were married in June of 1991 and finally divorced in December of 2002.
And you have children together?
That is correct.
How many children do you have together?
One. We have a boy, David, age 10 now.
And who is David's primary custodian?
His mother.
Do you visit with him?
On occasions, yes, I do.
What does on occasion mean?
Well, it seems to have changed recently, where normally I can pick him up when he comes home from school. He'll call me and say, "Dad, come pick me up," or some things like that. And Nita has changed that and wanted me to make plans through her instead of David.
That's the appropriate thing to do.
It's understood, but when at moments before that, I would try and call her, leave messages on the home phone, cell phone, and everything, and it took a long time
Are you telling me that your divorce decree does not provide for scheduled visitation?
No, we do not have any legal visitation or child support or anything set up.
Who has a copy of the judgment of divorce?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it, please. Just curious, Ms. Sayers, what was the problem with securing jurisdiction for a divorce? Because this is a bizarre situation for me, where you have a divorce, an absolute divorce that doesn't mention the issue of the marriage, child support, visitation, custody, all the things that are usually encompassed in a judgment of divorce. This does not. Can you explain that to me?
Yes, I had an option of either spending a lot of money and getting a divorce that did encompass visitation and custody, or spending less money. Since I was doing it by myself, he would agree to the divorce, but he wouldn't pay anything toward it. So the least expensive way for me to end it was to get one that didn't have all that in it. So that's what
So he agreed to this kind of a divorce as long as it didn't cost him any money?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes, you can.
Reason I did that way is because I actually found a $100 check that I had given her, a duplicate, in 1995 if she wanted a divorce, and I gave her $100 towards it, and she decided to do whatever she did with that money. Also, she did not get the divorce. And then...
How long have you been separated?
Since 94 or 5 or something.
Most of our married life we've been separated. We've lived together for a total of, we tried to put it together about 2 years.
Gotcha. And David has been in your primary care during all that time?
Yes, he has.
Okay. Mr. Reyes?
Yes.
Your former wife carried you on her insurance, is that right?
Yes, she did.
Until what year?
Until the divorce went through, and even after the divorce, when I called Blue Cross Blue Shield, they said I was still on there, so I don't know whether she was going through the emotions of taking me off or whatever.
Whatever, so she kept you on the insurance?
Correct.
That was really very nice of her.
It is, and I accepted it, and I thank her.
That was lovely of her. What kind of work do you do?
Right now I am unemployed. I'm a temp agency, and I work part-time at a grocery store, but I'm not working full-time anywhere.
Well, what have you been doing since 1995 when you separated?
I've been working off and on jobs, and I was working on a good job, and my past has basically messed up my work. I had a good job, really good job, and I lost it. And I must say, last year I lived most of it on inheritance from my grandmother, and I was very blessed.
How much inheritance?
She left me approximately, was it about 10,000?
Look at her, look at me.
Okay, about 10,000.
Of the $10,000, how much did you give Miss Ayers for David's support?
Actually, it wasn't directly towards David's support. I gave her about at least $900 to pay some bills for her within where she was living, and I put $500 in my son's savings account.
So you gave her a total of $1,400 for the year?
I'd say that, yes.
The year prior to that, how much did you give her?
I have a number of check stubs just showing her approximately about maybe another total of, I don't know, within the years of the separation from 95 that you're asking. I don't know the grand total. Your Honor, I'd say about 5,000. Every now I would give money, and also when we go shopping for school clothes.
I don't want to hear about school clothes.
Okay, well, I'm
not interested. Because did you get $1,400 from him last year? $500 for David and $900 towards bills?
I got $900 toward bills, that's all.
And he says he put in $500 for David. So in the year 2002, you got a grand total of $900 from him for the entire year. Is that right?
Yes, but it wasn't child support.
It was for bills.
It was, we were attempting to get back together, and he was attempting to move to Charlotte to have something to do with his son's life. And at that time is where I added him to my insurance, and we knew it might not work because we tried before. And we said, okay, I'll put you on the insurance and get some things done, some medical things. And his gesture was he bought me a ring and for Mother's Day, and he paid for my storage fee for 1 month and my car note for 1 month. That was the $900. He's since taken the ring back, and I did keep the $900.
I didn't take it, but I have.
What do you mean? You mean she gave it to you?
It was upon discussion and mentioning why would you want to not want to be with me and love me, but wear something that is monetary that I gave you as a replacement of her wedding ring that you and I lost. And when she handed it, held it up, is this what it's about? And yes, I took it, so we didn't fight over it. She gave it to me, and that's it.
We did.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ayers?
Yes, ma'am.
It is my assumption, sir, that for most of your son's life, you have been a father who has not supported him. Is that right?
No, that's not correct.
$900. Let us assume, sir, that I say that the $900 that you gave her last year was for your son, for support. And let us assume that I believe everything that you say, that since 1995 you had given her a total of approximately $5,000
No,
for your son.
that's not correct. I have many pay stubs here that add up to more than that, and some pay stubs that I
How
check.
much? Give me an idea.
I'll give you an idea of about another 8,000.
So in 8 years, is what you say, just a second, of course, Ms. Ayers, so in 8 years, you're telling me that you gave your son $8,000 towards his support. Is that what you're saying to me?
Yes, I would say so.
Fine.
Okay.
That is about $1,000 a year. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's not enough.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You've been a deadbeat for 8 years.
That's not correct. That's not
Deadbeat, sir. You cannot feed a guppy, a goldfish, for $1,000.
And later today,
Miss Smith, you would agree that some of those pictures are pretty miserable.
Yes, they are, Your Honor.
How do you explain that?
I'm embarrassed by those pictures, to say the least.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Ayers says ex-wife Anita Davis Ayers owes for illegally cashing his settlement check. Anita claims Robert is a deadbeat father.
Listen to me, sir. What I want to understand is where you get the chutzpah, gall, to sue her for a $600 insurance refund check where she was nice enough to put you on her insurance, where you've been a deadbeat for 8 years.
That's not correct. That's not
Deadbeat, sir. You cannot feed a guppy, a goldfish, for $1,000 a year. And you want for her, who has been the sole support of your child, probably all of her life, with the exception of the few years when you had a good job, to take money out of her bank now that she already put in because she was pretty much annoyed with you, and give it the $600 to you. And I'm going to tell you this, sir. I'm going to grant your judgment and hold it in abeyance for the following period of time. Listen to me very carefully.
Yes.
You will go into the local family court where you live. You will file a petition for visitation for your son and ask the court to set an order of support retroactive to the last moment that you gave her money. Do you understand?
Yes.
When you do that, and you have started to pay regularly for 3 months, I will release the check for $600. Do you understand? Do you understand me, sir?
If I have to,
You are
yes.
absolutely entitled to the $600 that she got by way of an insurance check that was designated for whatever surgery you had. was her insurance. She was nice enough to put you on her insurance. You are absolutely entitled to that.
I would have never done that.
Just
It was
listen
fun
to me
discussion.
very carefully, sir. You are absolutely entitled to that. And I'm going to grant you your judgment and hold it in abeyance. When you are paying a child support order regularly, you can have your money. Do I make myself clear? That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused.
I don't feel like it's right.
I think the judge made the right decision.
I wish we would have done this earlier, and we could have just given me the check and it would have been okay, because everything could have been cordial.
He's never given me anything near $8,000.
No problem. I'll take care of my son, and I'll pay him and take care of him. I'll do that. No problem at all.
He does very little. The little that he does, have to prod him to do it.
She's a judge, Anita, and she wants to run things her way.
You can call me Judge Anita, but sometimes you have to be a strong person just to make things happen.
I have to do what I have to do, and I'll stand up and strong man like I've been doing before, and I'll do whatever I have to do to take care of my son.
If you keep on letting the person use you, they'll keep using you. So you just have to cut it off and pay the consequences.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Weekly versus Smith, step forward, please.
Irish dancing teacher Patricia Weekly is suing dressmaker Valerie Smith for the money she paid for dance costumes. Valerie is countersuing for the unpaid balance.
Miss Weekly, Miss Smith, according to what I read, was commissioned by you to make some costumes for a young dance troupe who were doing some Irish dancing in competition. She made the dresses. You didn't like them. You want your money back. Ms. Smith says that you used the dresses, she delivered the dresses, and you owe her a balance. So I have a counterclaim. A few questions. Those, I assume, are the costumes.
These are some of them. We also have a dancer with us that's wearing one of the costumes.
When was the competition scheduled?
It was over Thanksgiving weekend of 2002.
And was this the first time that you were involved in this competition?
I've been involved in Irish dancing since 1969.
So you had ordered costumes before?
Yes.
But never from Miss Smith?
No, this was, I started out my own school this past year of May of 2002, and so we needed team dresses.
How did you find Miss Smith?
I looked in the Yellow Pages in Omaha as well as on the internet for an embroidery company because the dresses are all embroidered, and I started there.
Did you get references?
No.
Why not?
Because the way we went through the whole order process, she did some sample embroidery for me, and I paid for a sample dress to be made. And from those things, I proceeded with the order.
And you were satisfied?
I was satisfied with the direction
sample.
it was going, yes.
When did you get the sample?
I got the sample on September 12th, 2002.
Can I see the sample?
Yes.
Miss Smith, is this the sample dress that you made?
Yes, I believe it is.
Can I see it, please?
Your Honor, this was the first dress that was made, and actually when she
Just a second.
Okay.
This was the sample,
That's correct.
exactly the way it is here.
No, the cuffs didn't actually fit around the sleeves, and they were needed for a competition. So I actually had to add some black so that they would actually be able to go around the sleeve.
You added the black?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Weekly says she hired Valerie Smith to make dresses for an Irish dancing competition. Patricia says the dresses were a disaster.
All right, so you got a dress. You got one of the costumes on September 12th. You were satisfied with it. You told her to proceed with the order. What happened?
After that, I had given her a sample of a dress, what Irish dancing dresses should look like, since this was a new project for Val. And she had the use of this dress. I provided her patterns, and we started working on the dress. There were some irregularities in that sample that she said she would actually remake it and was embarrassed of that dress. So I was confident, based on our conversations, that it would go in the right direction. We had appointments for 5 different fittings. She showed up at 2 of them. And on the first fitting, she came. The dresses weren't done. There were 4 out of the 6, and they were in various states of completion, and tried them on the girls, took measurements, made notes on things that needed to be fixed, and let down, taken up, taken in. And then...
when did she deliver the dresses to you?
It was somewhere between 10 and 10:30 p.m. on November 27th, the day before Thanksgiving, at my home.
How many costumes did she deliver?
She delivered 6.
Did you look at them?
They were all bagged up on hangers, ready to go.
The answer is, did you look at them?
Not immediately, no.
So you didn't look at them before she left?
No.
When did you look at them?
After she left, it's nice to lay the dresses flat so the pleats hang. I looked at them right after.
On the 27th?
On the 27th, immediately after.
Okay. Did you call her on the 27th to register any dissatisfaction?
I didn't call her due to the fact that it was after 11 o'clock, but I sent her an email that I have expressing my dissatisfaction.
Okay, do you have any picture, any photograph of what the dresses looked like?
Yes, I immediately took pictures.
Can I see them, please? Have you seen these photographs?
No, I have not.
I'd like you to look at them.
Your Honor, if there's any way you could look at the dancer in the dress, the pictures are one thing, but to see one of my actual little girls that takes dancing for me in the dress is...
I'll do that in a minute.
Thank you.
Miss Smith, you would agree that some of those pictures are pretty miserable.
Yes, they are, Your Honor. This is the first I've seen of the dresses since they've been delivered.
Well, you must have seen them when you delivered them.
I did see them when I delivered them. Of course I did.
How do you explain that?
I'm embarrassed by those pictures, to say the least.
Right. Is the costume that you're going to show me now, had that been altered in any way by you before it was used?
No, there were some where we had to take zippers out to make them, try to have them hang straight. But we realized after we worked on them for 2 nights, all night, that there was really nothing we could do other than pin and tape and try to make them hang.
All right, so let me
straight.
see the dress that
Okay.
you want to show me. You have
Yes.
a witness outside?
Yes, I do.
Okay, stay right there.
Okay.
Turn around. Oh, that's awful. I'm not you. You're adorable. Dress doesn't fit. Okay, why don't you go have a seat? Okay. Did the girls use the dresses to dance?
Yes, they did. Given that the competition was the day after Thanksgiving, there was, and half
Nothing
the team
they
had
could do.
left for Chicago.
Okay.
Nothing to do.
I'll hear you.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the first time I've seen the dresses. I did receive the complaint from Ms. Weekly, but this is the first time I've seen the dresses and the problems that are with those dresses. As I recall, when I delivered them, they were not in that type of condition. However, after they've settled, I don't know what could happen to that type of costume with the weight. The skirt
Stand
is
up.
rather heavy.
Stand up. Turn around.
Your Honor, this dress...
Shh.
Sorry.
Turn around. That doesn't fit.
No, that does not fit at all.
Right.
I agree with you.
And you wouldn't expect to be paid for that, would you?
Not in that condition, no, ma'am.
Okay. Sit down. And you delivered the costumes the day before they were scheduled to leave. Is
I
that right?
delivered them by the day she specified I could deliver them the latest
Well,
by.
and I understand that, but when you're delivering dresses at the last minute, you have to assume the consequences of them not being right.
Sure, I understand.
Of course. So she paid you $2,400. The dresses are awful. She gets her money back, and you get nothing. That's all.
Your Honor, this is case number 590 on the calendar in the matter of Sokar versus Van Dorn. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat. You're welcome, Judge.
Mr. Sokar, the defendant is your former wife.
Yes, ma'am.
When were you married?
October 21st, 2001.
And you have a child together. Your child was born when?
May 12, 1999.
It's a girl. So
Yes,
the
ma'am.
time your daughter was born, you were not married. You married when she was about a year and some months old. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you divorce?
I don't remember. It
July
was
3rd of 2001. We were actually married in 2000.
Were you living together at the time your daughter was born?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, we were.
This is your complaint, Mr. Sokar. At the time your daughter was born, your former wife was receiving some sort of Medicaid.
Yes.
And the state of Kansas says that they spent $6,000 for the medical bills that surrounded your daughter's birth. According to you, you negotiated with them and got that amount down to $3,000, which you've been forced to pay.
right.
You want Miss Van Dorn to reimburse you $1,500, which is her half of the medical bills for your daughter's birth. That's what the case is about.
Right.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, there are certain facts that we can stipulate are true. A, you were living together at the time your daughter was born. B, that there is no question that the state has taken $3,000 from your salary or whatever for
Right.
the baby's birth, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That there's no question you are the father of this child.
Right.
So, Miss Van Dorn, I would like you to tell me why you don't feel, as the mother, that you're responsible for half of the medical bills.
At the time that I was pregnant, I was 19 years old. As I said, I was working part-time. I was also going to school full-time, not eligible for insurance. So I did get assistance from the state. At the same time, Mr. Sokar, who was living with me, but in a house that my dad was paying rent for, my dad basically supported me the entire first year that after we had moved from Los Angeles. And I told Mark I was moving to Kansas with or without him because I needed the support of my family. He'd even suggested me to get an abortion on at least one occasion, at least twice. He obviously didn't want to take responsibility for the child from the get-go. So my opinion was that, you know, I didn't know how long he was going to be sticking around. He obviously wasn't dependable. He couldn't keep a job.
Was he working?
He was not working. He had started to...
Well, now let's talk about now. Mr. Sokar, do you see your daughter regularly?
I see her every 2 weeks.
Overnight?
Yes, ma'am.
And you exercise that visitation regularly?
Yes, ma'am. I try to.
Try to is not an answer. Is there any reason?
When she shows up sometimes.
Your Honor, it's not that I'm not showing up. It's that he calls with absolutely no excuse. Several hours before, you know, not even giving me any notice that he's not going to show up, and yet continues to take me to court to fight for more visitation, and he's not even following through with it. He's not showing up.
All right, but there is a court order of visitation every other weekend. And what is the support order?
It is $255 a month.
When was that order made?
It was made in...
It was part of our divorce decree. It was scheduled payments for to begin in April 1st of 2001.
Is that correct, sir? That $255 a month was to commence April 1st?
Yes, ma'am.
2001?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you current in your support payments?
No, I'm not.
You're not?
No, I'm not.
How far behind are you?
I'm about 6 months behind.
It's more like over a year.
I'm 6 months behind, ma'am.
Just a second. Why are you 6 months behind?
Because I didn't have a job, ma'am.
How did you support yourself?
Unemployment.
So how much did you get from unemployment?
I was getting about $250-some a week.
So why weren't you paying $255 a month for your child?
Because I had a rent to pay, I had a car payment, plus I was paying off my...
Who cares about your car? Sell it. Who cares about your car? Who cares about your car, your gas, your insurance? Who cares about those things? You have a child.
Truth is, he's actually...
Shh. Well, you know how much $255 a month is times 6? Mr. Sokar?
No, ma'am, I don't.
$1,530.
Okay.
May I speak, Your Honor?
No. She says you're more behind, but you say you're 6 months behind. 6 months behind is $1,530. You want $1,500
I'm still fighting
from her.
for that.
Fighting for what?
My child support payments.
Yeah.
And they're garnishing them right now as we speak.
Well, they should. Of course they should, because you stopped paying.
They're doing it right now.
How much are they garnishing? $255 a month?
Nope, they're about to garnish almost $400 a month now.
Way to go.
I think so.
Way to go. And that's if you don't quit this job when they start to garnish.
Right.
How many times have you done that?
What's that?
Have you ever quit a job, Mr. Sokar?
No, ma'am, I have not.
You've never quit a job?
No, ma'am.
He just gets fired.
Oh, well, that's a possibility. If quitting gets fired. Well, you had to get fired if you collected unemployment insurance. How long did you collect unemployment for?
For about 7 months.
So it's probably more like 7 months that you didn't pay child support.
Nope, I was paying her too sometimes.
What do you mean you were paying her too sometimes? What does that mean?
I mean...
Your Honor, I've never received any
like giving her
direct payments
cash,
from
like
him.
clothes for my daughter and
I don't care
diapers
about
and things else
clothes.
too.
I don't care about clothes, diapers, formula, whatever.
No.
Cash money.
No.
Cash money. TFT. As my grandmother used to say. Tachas Tish. Put it right there, in the bank. If you can't put it in the bank, it's not support. Do you understand, Mr. Sokar?
I sure do.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mark Sokar says ex-wife Jennifer Van Dorn owes for half the cost of their child's birth. Jennifer claims Mark doesn't pay child support.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, sir. When you're all caught up on your arrears, all caught up, whatever the court says that your arrears are,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not going to finally dispose of this case, Mr. Sokar.
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm going to do is dismiss it without prejudice. When you're all caught up in whatever millennium that is,
Yes, ma'am.
in your child support, you feel free to come back here and sue your ex-wife for the $1,500 that you claim
Sure.
she owes you for half birthing of your daughter. Do you understand?
Sure
Isn't
do.
that fair? Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just think it's ridiculous that he's coming after me for something several years ago when he's not currently supporting his child.
Because I lost my job, that's why.
It's obvious that He's not taking a responsible role as a father.
Well, I think she's pathetic.
In the end, he's still trying to get money out of me when I'm the one who deserves the support for my daughter.
I think she's a liar.
He's probably never going to be able to have a steady job to get any support.
Don't trust a woman like her.
I'm looking at a completely undependable father for my daughter.
She never let me see my kid anyway.
He's just desperate for money because he can't keep a job.
She's full of it.
Any job he can get, they're completely garnishing for this. And he'll never have any money.
I still won.
Basically, his girlfriend's taking care of him while he sits at home and does nothing.
No.
She's going to figure out very soon that he is not there for her.
She wants more money for herself.
His true intentions are just to pick fights with me.
I'm done.
I wish I had a dependable father for my child.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morin versus Hastings. Step forward, please.
Piano teacher Rebecca Morin is suing her former friend, Shannon Hastings, for the return of maternity clothes and baby's things. Shannon says the items were a gift.
Ms. Morin, according to what I read, you claim a loan to the defendant. And the loan was some maternity clothes and baby equipment because she was pregnant and you thought it would be a nice thing to loan her your stuff. You want it back. Ms. Hastings said there was never a loan of these things, that you gave them to her, and either she doesn't have them anymore or she feels as if she should be able to keep them. How did you know her?
We had several friends in common. I knew some people that lived across the street from her. They took piano lessons from me. I also knew her child care provider for her children. So, and that is how I met her.
What prompted you to make the loan of this baby equipment?
I had known the defendant for about 2 years. When I first met her, she was married to my witness here. They had 2 preschool-age little boys, and she had just found out that she had a brain tumor. Their family went through horrible things for the next couple of years. She was told by her doctor that she would not be able to have children, and she had given all her baby things away.
So far, is everything she said correct?
Not everything, not about how we met.
Is it urgently important?
No.
Good. So far, everything is about right. Good.
Anyway, my heart went out to her when I found out that she was expecting a baby.
When was that, Mrs. Moore?
That would have been...
fall of 2000.
Fall of 2000, yes, thank you.
Tell me what items you gave her.
I gave her a crib, I gave her an infant car seat, I gave her a toddler car seat, I gave her an exerciser. Then there was also a playpen, there was also a swing, and then all the maternity clothes as well.
How many children did you have?
I had 2.
Were you planning on having any more?
There wasn't a plan, no.
How many do you have now?
I'm expecting 1 in 2 weeks.
Look great.
Oh, thank you.
So now you want your things back for yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, the maternity clothes you're not going to be able to use anymore anyway.
Correct.
But the other items you could use.
Certainly.
Will you use them?
Certainly.
Okay. So, I gather you're not married to the same husband anymore.
Well, the divorce is still
here.
pending, which is...
So you're separated?
Yes.
And the 3 children?
They live with me.
Your baby is how old?
2 years old, 2 weeks ago.
Still use the crib?
Well, not that crib, but yes, he's still in a crib.
Where's the crib?
The big rail in the front broke, and so we had to get a new one out of the paper for like $50.
So you don't have it anymore?
Right.
Well, it went through 1, 2, 3 babies. Happens. Miss Morin wants the rest of her things. Why shouldn't she have them?
Well, basically, what was left out was that we met through the church, that it's a Baptist church that we went to. Upon filing for divorce, the church decided that they could no longer support me because I'm the devil's spawn. They don't believe in divorce, and so everybody basically just turned their back on me and said that if I followed through with the divorce, they could no longer support me.
When did you file for divorce?
Gosh, almost, it'll be 2 years this coming October.
2001.
You're a good, he's very good with dates. He may be not so good with other things. I'm not sure, I don't know, but he's
you got
dates.
that.
Okay.
I mean, they performed church discipline on me without even telling me, basically saying that no one could
Your Honor,
support me
that's
anymore.
not true.
That's what I was told. That's what I was told.
That is not true. And that has nothing to do with the case.
Well,
that's her perception of why you want your things back after
Exactly.
2 years.
Now, he was trying to get 50-50 custody, and we were having family services go through each of the homes. At this time, he only had Sam, the baby, and a playpen, no crib. So it was like 2 days before this family study was going to be performed, when he dropped off the children, he said Rebecca would like me to have the crib and things. And I said, well, then I'll talk to Rebecca.
Did you ever have a discussion with him about those things?
Yes.
Tell me about that conversation.
Before I ever loaned it to them, I had discussed it with the defendant. I had also discussed it with him that I wanted those things back.
The question is, had you told Mr. Hastings
Correct.
that he could have these things instead of his wife?
Oh, no, I did not say that to him. I did tell him I would like them back. I told him I didn't need them right away because I wasn't due until April. And so after the first of the year, then I began asking for him for those things back. That was January of 2003.
Okay. What is it that you want him to testify to, Mr. Hastings? Tell me before he stands up, because I don't necessarily think it's a good idea for him to be testifying against his soon-to-be ex-wife. They have children together. If we can avoid that, that would be a good thing. So would you please tell me what it is that you think he can contribute to this case?
That it was a loan, and he's got an email here that he had exchanged with the defendant.
Oh, well, I'll see that.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Children didn't ask for you to get married, and the children didn't ask for you to get divorced. So you're supposed to make it most comfortable for the children, because in the words of my father, 2 innocent people shouldn't suffer for what 2 guilty people did.
Agreement to give the items back.
Okay. Are those what are left of her maternity clothes? I don't think she needs them anymore, but she should have them. Sure. So give them back to her. Ms. Hastings, having been through the drill of optimum utilization of maternity clothes, you know, they're sort of passed around from family to friends, right, so that you don't use an extra saucer just once for one child or 2 of yours. You can use it until it goes.
Right.
Use it as much as possible. But it seems to me at this point that Ms. Morin was very generous to make these things, let us say, available to you.
I agree.
Now, the crib is no longer there, so you can't have it back. And certainly there was no agreement, Ms. Morin, that she would replace anything that broke. Is that right?
No, but it was certainly understood that I wanted my things back.
Of course, but what happens if something broke?
Well, I would think she would have the courtesy to at least call me, return my calls, and tell me it's broken.
Should have. She absolutely should have. But I have a feeling there's lots more there. That she felt as if she was shunned by the church when she made a decision to divorce. It's been a difficult year or so between these 2 people, going back to court, issues of custody and all that entails. You know, do you send clean clothes or dirty clothes? When do you pick up? When do you drop off? All kinds of ridiculous things. With regard to that, and I digress for a moment, all I can say to you is children didn't ask for you to get married, and the children didn't ask for you to get divorced. So you're supposed to make it most comfortable for the children, because in the words of my father, 2 innocent people shouldn't suffer for what 2 guilty people did. Right?
Yep. Totally agreed.
You have 3 children. Try to make their lives as pleasant as possible, and you have to understand whoever is going to have primary custody should have a clear head. So if that's your wife, sir, if she's the primary custodian for the children, you don't want to make her crazy. And if he's going to be spending time with the children, a good deal of time with the children, which he absolutely should, you shouldn't want to stretch him to the limit.
Right.
Also understood?
Definitely.
Okay. So that being said, and whether you've listened to it or not is irrelevant. Whatever you have left of the maternity equipment and child equipment, you should give back to her. She needs it now.
Now, can I say that she added here a playpen and a swing. The letter she sent me certified, she never even stated those. I was never given a playpen and a swing. He has a playpen that the baby sleeps in. So I don't know if that's something that he got from her, but it's not in the letter either.
That's correct. He had 4 items, but he returned them to me within a week of me asking for them. She's never called me. I called her for 6 months.
The baby still sleeps in the
playpen. She has never returned my calls. She won't communicate with me.
Okay. So what do you have left?
I've got an extra saucer.
Good, that goes back.
That's fine. And I've got a car seat. He had the infant car seat. He had the playpen and the swing that I never had.
So you have those 2 items?
Yes.
And these clothes. Okay, so what I want you to do is, I want you to clean them up really nicely, because they are in otherwise good condition.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. And drop them off.
Okay.
Easy. Okay?
Your Honor, can I say that these aren't even my clothes? These are not my clothes.
Listen to me. The maternity clothes you didn't ask for 2 years. I mean, I didn't want to get into this, but you seem like a really nice lady. The maternity clothes you didn't ask for 2 years. You don't need them now, certainly, because you're going to have your baby.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
She finished using them 2 years ago. If you had wanted them back, you shouldn't have called her 6 months ago. You should have called her 2 years ago, year and a half ago.
More
and
than
said,
that.
Listen, 2000, now we're in 2003. I would like my maternity clothes back.
But, Your Honor, I did tell her this was a loan.
No, listen to me. You're not following what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is, if you wanted your maternity clothes back, when was your baby born?
He was 3 months premature. He was born in March of 2001.
Okay. So you had 2 years. Pick up the phone, baby's born in March 2001.
I never even
say,
used
hi,
them.
don't need the maternity things anymore. Congratulations. I'm really glad that you had baby. Baby is nice and healthy. I'm going to come over and pick up my maternity clothes. You chose not to do that. Let them sit in her closet or wherever they were. Maybe she gave them to somebody else to use. Who knows? But you certainly weren't vigilant with the maternity clothes. The other things she used afterwards. So I'm having her return those things to you, but don't push it with regard to the maternity clothes. You were not vigilant in taking them back. Perhaps you didn't expect to use them again. In any event, that's my decision. Those things go back.
Now, this is case number 546 on the calendar in the matter of Newsom versus Harris. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Stand over there, please. Your last name is what?
Crispin, C-R-I-S-P-I-N.
Mr. Crispin, I think that you're an integral part of this case, which is why I asked you to stand up with Miss Harris. Uncross your arms, please. Miss Newsom, I'm going to try to set up what I believe is the family tree here so that we all understand it. You have a child who is 7 years old.
Correct.
Mr. Crispin, I assume, is the father of that child.
Correct.
Miss Harris is his current girlfriend. Is that right?
That's correct.
Do you have any children together?
No, we do not.
It is your claim that Miss Harris called you around holiday time last year and asked if you would do them a favor. Mr. Crispin wanted to take the child that you share, your son, to visit his family over the holidays. And Miss Harris was calling to find out if you would rent a car using your credit card so that he could take Miss Harris, I assume, or not Miss Harris, just your son and himself to visit his family over the holidays. Miss Harris was doing that because she wanted to make him happy.
Probably.
And she said they didn't have a credit card. Would you rent the car in your name and she would pay you?
Correct.
And she even gave you a check for $250 for the deposit.
Correct.
And you said?
Well, I told her that I would go on and rent the car based on the fact that she asked me, not because of him, and plus because of my son.
Okay. Now, did you get along with Miss Harris?
Yes.
Excuse me, Judge.
What?
Do me a favor. Take your hands out of your pants, please.
How should I be standing
Just
like
stand
this?
with your hand. Just stand with your hands to your side.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. You get along with Miss Harris?
Yeah, she was cool. We was pleasant. I got
And when
along.
your son goes to visit,
Exactly.
she's nice to him?
She
so you got
called
along.
and checked up to see how he was doing and everything. Exactly.
Good. Perfect. But I assume you don't get along with Mr. Crispin that well?
No, I do not.
Okay. So you said you would rent the car for her?
Exactly.
Now, how did she get this check to you?
Well, we met up at Key Bank, and she gave me the check, deposited it into my account.
And then where did you go?
Then we went to the rental car place at the airport.
And on what date did you rent the car?
It was Christmas Eve, December 24th.
So what happened next?
After we rented the car, I got insurance on the car because I knew that I was not going to be the one driving the car, that he was, because my car insurance paid for rental cars. So we rode up the street off Seltzer Road. We exchanged. I gave him.
Did they have him listed as a driver?
No, they didn't. No.
Why not?
Because we
Don't
didn't
they
set
usually
it up.
do that?
That's the way it's supposed to be done.
That's the way it's supposed to be done. But we didn't do it that way.
So you
And-
did it the wrong way?
Yes.
In the contract that you signed, didn't they say, are you the only driver?
Well, they asked was I the only driver.
And you wrote down yes. So what happened next?
After we departed ways, went home, and I rented the car for a week. Just in case he didn't make it back due to traffic or the weather or whatever. I rented the car for a week. And April had agreed, when she gave me the check for the $250, she had agreed that she would hook up with me Friday so she could give me the rest of the money on the rental car.
How much was the entire rental car?
The entire rental car for the week is like $431.
Okay.
Okay. So I called her Thursday. And I said, April, are we going to meet up Friday? And she was like, well, I have a meeting at my job, so let's do it Saturday. I said, what time? I said, I'll base my schedule around yours. She said around 12. I said, okay, fine. I gave her till 1:06. Called the house. She did not answer the phone. So then I said, okay. So then I called back later. I said, April, she answered the phone. I was like, April, what's going on? Are you going to meet me to get the money? Well, Jeffrey's not back. I said, what does Jeffrey being back have to do with you giving me the money for the car? She said, well, I can't get to the bank. I said, well, April, he has the rental car. He doesn't have your car, so he's not going to be using your car. He's out of town. And she said, well, I have to wait till Jeffrey get back. I said, okay, fine. I said, well, you know that the car is supposed to have been turned back today. And I said, if the car goes any longer, you're going to be responsible for paying those extra days. She said, well, I know, but I'm not. She said, I don't have an ATM card, and I need to go to the bank, but I can't go to the bank until Monday because I don't have an ATM card.
Did she ever give you the money?
No, she didn't.
What happened with the $250 check?
Well, she gave me the check for the $250. I deposited it into my account. A few days later, I received a letter from my bank, which is right here, stating, please find and enclose a copy of the 12/24/2002 deposit of $250, which has been returned unpaid due to the account is closed. As a result, we have deducted this amount from your account along with a $20 return deposit fee.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Pay no attention to what he's saying to you, madam. I want you to understand this. You don't want me to make you look foolish, do you? You know I have that capacity to do that if you're lying to me.
And later today,
Why in the world, Mr. Peterson, would you come to court and say, I, in effect, committed statutory rape, and I'm here to ask her for rent?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. LaVonda Newsom claims her ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend, April Harris, owes for a loan to rent a car. April says LaVonda should be suing her ex.
Okay. Okay, Miss Harris. I know there are a couple of other smaller issues with regard to gas in the car and that sort of stuff, but I would like to hear your version of these events, madam.
Okay. Granted, she was called to ask to rent the car for Jeffrey. Okay. She told me that she needed an extra $250 to show for a deposit in the...
Now, just a second. She called you? Or
she had informed me when she was calling the rental car companies.
I want to know how you got to the rental car company. Did you call her and ask her to rent this car?
I just said that.
Well,
I said after I spoke to her. Okay.
Let's go a little slower.
I called her.
You called her for what purpose?
To see if she would help me rent Jeffrey a car. Jeffrey was wanting to go home to Alabama for Christmas. She had told me that the amount of the rental required a $250 deposit. I told her that I would give her a check for $250. However, that check will not clear my bank. She said that was fine. I told her, and she did know, that if it's a deposit, that she would get the deposit back for the rental.
Why didn't you rent a car for Jeffrey?
My credit card was maxed out at the time. It was Christmas. And this was a last-minute
So, Miss Harris, listen to me carefully.
I'm listening.
So, Miss Newsom is correct when she says that you called and asked to rent a car for your boyfriend using her credit card because you couldn't use yours. This was going to be a gift for him from you, right?
For the both.
I didn't ask you a thing.
Actually,
this was going to be a gift from you for Jeffrey.
Yes.
However,
sir, ma'am, I do apologize for that, Your Honor.
Just a second.
Per my understanding.
Don't tell me what your understanding was. Don't pay no attention to what he's saying to you, madam. I want you to understand this. You don't want me to make you look foolish, do you? You know I have that capacity to do that if you're lying to me. You understand that?
Yes.
You don't want to look foolish in front of a whole bunch of people, including Bird. So you called her and said, I want to rent a car for Jeffrey as a gift for him. But I don't have a credit card. Can we use yours? Which is pretty much what she said. Is that right?
Not in the same language that you just
I don't care what language it was. That was the understanding.
If you want me to tell you what happened, then I would be more than happy to tell you my side. But that would require me speaking.
Around Christmas, according to your answer that you swore to, Miss Newsom, that's her, wanted to rent a car for the holidays but lacked the $250 deposit. That's what you swore to in your answer, but that wasn't true. You called her to rent a car for him.
Per my understanding, they had already spoke about renting a car to go down there.
True. And she already
She needed
knew.
an extra $250 deposit.
She knew. She knew about
No,
the
no.
check and everything.
No.
She knew.
I didn't speak to you.
Well, the truth ain't been told here.
Did you hear? Did you hear me? I didn't speak to you.
I understand that.
Good, then sit down.
I'll do so. I'm tired of standing.
Good. I know, you probably work very hard.
I do.
He don't.
I do.
You do?
He don't.
Really? How much child support does he pay?
He doesn't pay me. He's been sworn. He
You need to
doesn't pay
check the
me.
mail.
Okay, question. I'm going to answer your question. 0. How much? 0.
Could take some of his gold, maybe we can sell it.
Exactly.
Listen! Your answer, Miss Harris, says she wanted to rent a car but lacked $250. Now, what doesn't make sense is for her to want to do something nice for Jeffrey. Do you understand? I don't even know Jeffrey, and I wouldn't want to do anything nice for him for Christmas.
Exactly.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. LaVonda Newsom claims her ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend, April Harris, owes for a loan to rent a car. April says LaVonda should be suing her ex.
Did he have a good time over the holiday?
I don't think so. I don't know.
You don't live together anymore?
Yes, we still do.
So when he came back, you didn't say to him, honey, did you have a good time?
No, because all of this was just too much drama filled. In other words, I was trying to do a good deed, and I'm the one who got snipped in the butt.
A good deed for whom?
For him, and per my understanding for her, because her daughter was going away with her father for Christmas, so she was going, Quavon was going with her, with Jeffrey. So basically, all in the matter is to settle things, to make everything just copacetic for Christmas. Her daughter's going to be with her father. Quavon would have been with Jeffrey. She would have been on for Christmas. I would have been on for Christmas. The check was given. She was aware of that, okay?
I'm talking about who called whom. You called her.
They called
and according
both.
to you, said to her, would you do this for me because I don't have a credit card that I can use? That's what you said to her.
Pretty much, because she was calling wanting to know if Jeffrey would be able to take their son, or is Jeffrey still going to take their son to Alabama?
Exactly.
And I said, I'm not sure yet, because Jeffrey, until the last moment, did not say he really wanted to go until Christmas Eve.
But you had made the arrangement before Christmas Eve to rent the car for him, is that right?
Not with her, no.
He called me a week prior.
What date did you call her to rent the car?
I think it was the day before New Year's Eve, which was
The
the
day,
23rd.
not New Year's Eve, you mean Christmas.
The day before, which would have been the 23rd of December.
So I'm saying to you, you said he didn't make up his mind that he wanted to go until Christmas Eve, but you had spoken to her before.
No, I didn't speak to her until that day.
A day prior is before.
A day before.
Well, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Give her money, $600. Judgment for the plaintiff. Goodbye. Hope you enjoy him.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Whatever the situation may be, she should have went at him. So obviously there's some type of vendetta, but she got her money, so she has no reason to call my house. She has no reason to bother me whatsoever. So I hope she just gets to life and get on with herself.
Even though she told me I should have got it from Jeffrey, but I wouldn't have rented the car if Jeffrey would have came to me and asked me for the car. I did it for the sake of her and my son because she came to me because me and her was cool.
She wanted me to take my son out of town. She wanted to go do whatever she wanted to do, and that's case closed, you know?
My son is going to be, he's the one that's going to basically be out of it due to the fact I'm not letting him see his dad due to the fact his dad don't pay child support.
That ain't got nothing to do with this here. You running business all out like that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Peterson versus Matheson. Step forward, please.
21-year-old equipment operator Edward Peterson is suing the mother of his underage ex-girlfriend, healthcare provider Sherry Matheson, for unpaid rent. Sherry claims, in lieu of rent, she did housework.
Mr. Peterson, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for rent. Owes you for rent for herself and her daughter when they lived with you in a shared house and you were all on a lease.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Matheson says there was never an agreement that she was going to pay you rent. Mr. Peterson, when did you lease this house and who lived there?
I began the lease on this house, I believe it was the 4th of October of last year, and the initial parties that moved in were myself, Sherry, her daughter Amber, and Sherry's boyfriend Dan.
Now, in reading these papers, it is intimated in these papers that Amber, that's the daughter, was your girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 21 years old.
And how old was Amber when she moved in?
I found out that she was 16.
Amber was 16.
Now, I was at the
Wait,
time...
shh. Okay, what you know. Amber was 16 at the time, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how many bedrooms were in this house?
It was a 2-bedroom townhome.
I assume that Miss Matheson, who moved in with her boyfriend, and your boyfriend's name is?
Dan.
Dan, shared one bedroom.
Yes, ma'am.
And you shared another bedroom with Amber?
Yes, ma'am.
With her mother's consent?
Yes.
Shame on you. Big time. How many months did that arrangement continue?
That arrangement continued for 2 months, and at the end of the second month, I had not received any money from Amber or her mother for the rent.
Amber wasn't going to pay you any money, sir. Was that the arrangement, that Amber pay you money?
The arrangement was that everybody pays their own portion of the rent. There were 4 of us living there.
Well, Amber can't pay her portion of the rent because Amber's a minor. Right?
Correct.
So how much was her mother supposed to pay?
Let's see. Her mother would have paid the $312 for herself per month, and the agreement was that she would also pay the $312 for her daughter, which would be $625.
Bull. Bull. There's no way that Miss Matheson said to you, "You're sleeping with my daughter in your bedroom, and I'm going to pay her rent." You're lucky you're not in jail, sir. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Your lawsuit is the height of chutzpah. Why you would expose yourself is absolutely beyond me. Are you still in this apartment?
Yes, I am.
So why in the world, Mr. Peterson, would you come to court and say, I, in effect, depending upon the jurisdiction where I lived, committed statutory rape, and I'm here to ask her for rent?
The reason is, Your Honor, because for the months of December, January, February, and March, I was laid off from my job.
Yes.
And I needed their portion of the rent to help cover the bills of the townhome, help cover the rent and utility bills, which is the whole reason we're in court.
All right, Miss Matheson, you tell me. I mean, because I'm not too fond of you either. I want to explain that to you. I think as a mother you are a jerk. But you want to explain to me, madam, what you claim this rent arrangement was?
When we agreed to move in together, he said that he would take care of Amber's portion of the rent and everything.
Of course he did.
And he said, Dan will end up taking care of yours. And he said, and with you doing the laundry and the cleaning and always had meals fixed and everything, he said, that'll take care of yours.
And then what happened to
Dan?
And
I always put money in and paid because I always had money coming in.
From what?
From my savings account in Kansas. And then I had child support.
Did your ex-husband know what these living arrangements were in this house?
Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about his daughter at all.
That's lovely to hear. I think you people all deserve each other. Except you. The case is dismissed, sir. You're lucky you're not in jail. You don't have any other children, do you?
Mm-mm.
Perfect.
This is case number 586 on the calendar in the matter of Peary versus Chambers. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, lady, have seats, please.
Ms. Peary, you had provided child care for Mr. Chambers' children for some time. Your complaint is that he removed his 2 children from your daycare facility recently without giving you the requisite month's notice. He had only given you 2 weeks' notice because he had paid the beginning of the month and he removed the children in the middle of the month. Mr. Chambers states that he believes that his children received inadequate care. He was quite concerned about an incident that occurred at your daycare facility with one of his children, and because of that, he should not be required to give you the 30 days notice. That's your position, sir, is that right?
That is my position, Your Honor.
Okay. When did you start to take care of the Chambers children?
Initially in January of 2001.
And how old were they at that time?
They were quite young. The youngest was crawling, and their older was around one-ish.
That would be hard. How old were your children in January of 2001, sir?
I believe my youngest was just about 6 months, and the older, I believe, Your Honor, was just turned 2.
And they were there full-time?
That's correct.
Now, there was a time when they left your facility for a brief period of time, and then they came back a few months later. When did they terminate your service?
December.
December what?
Of 2002.
December what?
Well, they had paid through the last day of December.
When did they remove the children? What date? Yes, sir.
December 19th, I believe, Your Honor.
Oh, right, where they did not come back. That's correct.
Now, Mr. Chambers, you're going to tell me why you removed the children on the 19th.
On that date, I, along with my friend, had gone to pick up my children. It was approximately 4:45. When I arrived, my child, who was 3 at the time, was sitting next to a piano in the living room, crying, and he had...
What's his name?
His name is Tyler. And he was wearing this shirt, Your Honor, and it was soaked on this sleeve, and he had chewed little holes in here. He was sitting on the floor. I didn't see any adult, so I went over and I addressed him and asked what was going on. At that stage, my 2-year-old ran up and said, Tyler's in trouble. Then the adult supervisor at the time, whose name was Liz, entered the room and said, "Oh, I'm glad you're here. We're very angry at Tyler." I asked her, well, what's going on? She goes, he scratched Mrs.
Just a second. Is Liz an employee of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is she now?
Because of the incident, they had a state investigation, and all claims were cleared. And so
Where is she now?
She's working at the daycare.
You did not bring her?
No, ma'am.
Where were you during this incident?
I was present.
You were there at 4:45 p.m.?
I had left at 3:45.
So you weren't there at 4:45?
Correct.
Her employee's working. She chose not to bring her. I'm going to let you tell me what she told you.
Yes, ma'am. And also,
she said they were very angry at Tyler.
They were very angry at Tyler. He had scratched Miss Jen's piano. She showed me the scratches. There was considerable damage. He is only 3. To me, it was my understanding he had been doing it for some time.
Did Tyler cause considerable damage to your piano?
No, I did a simple polish on the piano, and they all but disappeared.
At the time, it looked like it was scratched?
Oh, it had been scratched, but it wasn't considerable. It wasn't anything that I was too concerned about. But he had done something.
Okay. Were you present when he scratched the piano?
Yes, ma'am.
What time did he scratch the piano?
It was during nap time, which was 12:30, between 12:30 and 2 o'clock.
Well, where were you?
During nap time, he lays in the living area, the general area, and I am in the kitchen area, which overlooks the general area.
You did not see him marking up the piano?
No, I did not.
When did you discover that he had marked up the piano?
When I was cleaning up after nap time.
What time, 2 o'clock?
Yes, it was between 2 and 2:30, and had found the scratches and said, "Tyler, did you do this? What happened?" And he showed me he had brought in a piece of clay from outside. We'd had a windstorm and a pot broke. Brought it in and had started writing his T's and his letters on the piano.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is not a business for you, madam.
I've been in the business for 13 years.
Well, I want
love
to tell you
their
something.
children.
I don't know where, but I wouldn't leave my child with you.
They're very well watched over. In fact,
what I'm telling you is, it's outrageous.
And later today,
I finally got the chow off, and I went back to get the Rottweiler off. That's when I got bit in the thumb. I picked my dog up, and he was full of holes.
child care provider Jennifer Peary says former client Mitchell Chambers owes for breaking their contract. Mitchell claims Jennifer gave his son a 3-hour timeout.
So from 2:30 to 4:45, he was in timeout?
No, ma'am. No. He was in a 15-minute timeout.
Yeah. Well, why was he still sitting in a corner at 4:45 crying?
That is not the case.
Well, you weren't there from 3:45 until at least 4:45, is that right?
I did ask
Okay. Now, what did her employee Liz tell you?
I asked her, well, when did this happen? And she stated between 12:30 and 1. The children were down for naps, and she heard Miss Jen scream and was upset about the piano, and then she said that they found some pottery in the room. They asked Tyler, and Tyler said he had scratched the piano. And this is the shirt that he was wearing, and his diaper was also wet. I have reason to believe I can't understand that he wasn't there for 3 hours.
Right. Your Honor, he regularly chewed on his clothing. He was a very nervous child, and he regularly chewed holes in his clothing and had quite a bit of saliva and drool. So that was very normal for him to chew on his clothing. And when I left at 3:45, I told my employee, go make dinner, get, the evening ready. He was done with his timeout. It had been done and over with.
Who was your employee?
Liz.
How many children do you have?
There were probably approximately 11.
11 children, and how many employees? One?
It is myself.
You weren't there at
right,
3:45?
I have 3 employees.
How many were there that day?
2. At that time, it was 1.
And you told the one employee that was there to go inside in the kitchen and get ready for dinner?
At the time,
that's what you just
she
told
is
me.
not
I mean,
left
is that
with-
what you just told
Right.
me? You told me you left, you had one other employee, you had 11 children, including at least 2 toddlers, one 2 years old and one 3 years old.
Right.
One that had already brought a sharp enough object into the house so that they could damage a piece of wood. That piece of sharp object that he brought in from the house could just as easily have hurt him as hurt your piano. And you left 11 children in the care of one person who you told to go in and prepare dinner.
There were not 11 children there at the time.
Well, that's
there
what
was
I
there
asked you.
in the day.
I asked you how many children were there on December 19th?
For the total day. But when I leave one employee in charge, no more than 8 children can be there at a time.
Good. You left one person with 8 children,
correct,
toddlers, and you told that employee to go and prepare dinner.
Right. She takes the children with her into the kitchen area.
Miss
She
Perry?
has, pardon me?
You're going from bad to worse, madam.
Oh, I'm just trying to get my point across.
You're getting your point across. She takes all 8 children with her into the kitchen to cook dinner?
That is
Where were you
correct.
going at 2:45?
My daughter has piano practice, and I take her to practice, and then I come back home. So the situation had not gotten out of hand.
Miss Perry.
Yes, ma'am.
This is not a business for you, madam.
I've been in the business for 13 years.
Well, I want
loved
to tell
their
you something.
children.
I don't know where, but I wouldn't leave my child with you. You have 8 toddlers that you're putting in a kitchen with somebody who's preparing dinner, and you're out taking your daughter to piano practice. That's outrageous.
They're very well watched over. In
what
fact,
I'm telling you is it's outrageous, and you shouldn't be here. So if you've been in business for 13 years, I would suggest that you take your business and its good name and walk out the door, because if they gave you 2 weeks' notice under these circumstances, that's all you were entitled to. Goodbye.
Can I mention the state?
Goodbye.
She didn't even let me
Parties
say
are
anything.
excused. They step out.
They had the state investigate me. They did a 30-day grueling investigation, and I was cleared of all charges.
It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that they couldn't prove it.
I really don't think they wanted to pay me. They wanted to get out of payment, and so they made up a story.
The children obviously aren't old enough to really be a witness. They pretty much took my version and then her version and said it was a draw.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Meyer versus McDermott. Step forward, please.
Terry Meyer is suing student Elisa McDermott for vet bills and pain and suffering due to a dog attack. Elisa says Terry's dog attacked first.
Mr. Meyer, it is your claim that the defendant's dogs bit not only you, which was a minor injury,
Right.
but seriously injured your dog.
Yes.
By biting your dog. You want the defendant to be responsible for all of the bills that you sustained as a result of this attack. Ms. McDermott says that the whole incident was your fault. So I'd like you to tell me where this happened, what time it happened, who else was present when it happened.
It happened on January 12th in our city park, and I walk my dog there every day, 3 times a day.
What kind of a dog do you have?
I have a little rat terrier husky mix,
How much does the dog weigh?
about 25, 30 pounds.
What time of the day were you walking?
6 o'clock, exactly.
Go ahead.
I got out of my truck and I walked down to the lake, and my dog was on a leash, and I felt the leash go all the way out, and I turned around and there was 2 dogs on my dog chewing on him.
Excuse me?
Don't speak until I get to you.
Okay, thank you.
I turned around and the dogs were chewing on my dog, and his leash broke. I ran over to my
What kind of a lead was it? One of those that...
little retractable on a little cord. But he's a little dog, and the dogs were chewing him up. I ran over there, and I jumped on the dogs. There was nobody around when I jumped down on the dogs. Then all of a sudden, I looked up, and she was standing there.
What kind of dogs were these?
One was a Rottweiler Black Lab mix, and one was a Chow dog. The Rottweiler had his jaws locked on my dog's behind, and I couldn't get him off. I screamed at the lady to help me get her dogs off of him, and she couldn't get him off. So
Did she try?
She tried, but she couldn't get him off. I pulled the Rottweiler's jaws off my dog, and I got him off, and then I went to get the Chow off my dog, and the Rottweiler grabbed back a hold. So I was fighting with two dogs at the same time. I finally got the Chow off, and I went back to get the Rottweiler off. That's when I got bit in the thumb. I picked my dog up, and he was full of holes. I could almost reach inside of his stomach.
He had several surgeries?
Yeah, he had to go in surgery like 2 or 3 times.
Okay, how did you find Miss McDermott?
I searched everywhere. I couldn't find her after I took my dog to the vet. She was gone already. The police came there right away. They couldn't find her. Then the city newspaper printed it in the paper.
And you went into the police station?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Now let's go back to the 12th.
Okay.
At about 6 o'clock in the evening, you're walking your 2 dogs. One is a Rottweiler mix?
Yes, I have. Did you want pictures?
I'd like to take a look at them, please, Bird.
And I also have something from the vet, and I have his vet, and I see a white, and I think it had some black on it, dog running at my dogs. So my dogs protected themselves. They did not attack his dog.
Were your dogs off the leash?
Yes, they were. And I paid the fine, and his dog actually was off the leash also.
I know, but unfortunately, his dog didn't bite yours, nor did his dog bite you.
He threw himself on his dog. My dogs didn't go after him.
All precipitated by the fact that there were dogs off the leash. Mr.
And actually, his dog did bite mine, but my dogs, as you can see in the pictures, have really thick fur.
I'm waiting for why you don't think you're responsible.
Because his dog wasn't on a leash, my dog wasn't on a leash. My dog did not attack his dogs, nor did they attack him.
Well, let me ask you this question. What efforts did you make to pry your dog away from his dog?
He ran about the same time I did. He threw himself on his dog, and I retrieved my dogs. He never tried to retrieve my dogs because he was laying on the ground over his dog.
What caused you to go to the police?
The first time I checked, there had been nothing said about it, and then friends of mine had read it in the newspaper, because I walk all over town. Everybody knows what dogs I have.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I have these vet bills, and is this correct that your total out-of-pocket expense for your dog was $304?
Exactly.
Okay. Is there any other evidence that you want to give me?
Yes, I have pictures of my dog.
I'd like to see them.
Here's one before. There's the dog after he was attacked, and me.
What did you do for the bite on your thumb?
I cleaned it up. I was so occupied with all this, I didn't have time to go to the doctor. This was a 17-day nightmare. I mean, my dog could hardly move. He couldn't do anything. I have...
Miss McDermott, is this the first summons you've received for letting your dogs be without a leash? Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. I have her arrest. Well, she turned herself in, but they considered it an arrest.
Can I see that, Bird?
And if her dog didn't bite before, why did she put her own dog to sleep?
Which dog did you put to sleep?
I put the Chow to sleep.
Why?
Because when he was very young, I had problems between the 2 dogs. And what I felt about the incident was that Chewy is that's the Chow that I put to sleep, is a very protective dog. He's not a vicious dog, he doesn't attack, but he was very protective of me. And I didn't want to have a situation where a young girl lost control or a young child lost control of their dog. It happened in another city.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Now, she put the Chow to sleep, but the Rottweiler did all that damage. Those dogs were vicious. I mean, there was... And what if it was a little kid at the park? Because we live by school.
Well, Ms. McDermott then takes a serious risk. This is certainly some serious damage that was done to this dog, and this was done by the Rottweiler.
Yeah, most of it, just the puncture wounds on the back.
See, now I don't know how he can say he knows which dog gave, because he threw himself on the dog, and it was screaming and excited, and his dog ran at us.
He knows.
So
I put my hands in their mouth to pry them out. I know what dog they were.
He knows. Okay, so the pain and suffering that you're asking for is the pain and suffering for the dog.
Yes.
I don't know of any court that awards pain and suffering for the animal, sir. This clearly was a situation that was instigated, in my judgment, by her two dogs being off the leash. And I wish I had more confidence in the fact, Mr. Mayor, that your dog was on a leash.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm
yes,
saying to
I
you,
do.
sir? I'm not so confident that when you let your dog out of the truck,
Right.
you weren't just going to go around the park comfortably like she was doing. That doesn't say that this should be the result.
Right.
So absolutely, Ms. McDermott has to pay for your vet bills. And I'm also sure that, are you a working man?
No, I'm disabled. I don't work. I spent 17 days taking care of this dog.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say you are also would also be entitled to the time that you spent away from your job tending to the dog.
Yeah.
Taking the dog to the vet, but you are unemployed.
No,
So
I'm
you're
disabled. Yes.
Okay. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $304. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 572 on the calendar in the matter of Mika versus Coker. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Mika, according to your complaint, you signed up with the defendant's dating service.
Yes, I did, Your
You
Honor.
paid her a substantial amount of money, and according to you, she did not fulfill her end of the bargain.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Just a second. Miss Coker says that you do, in fact, have a contract with her, that you signed, that you did perform her service, and that you're not entitled to a refund.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How did you find her service, Mr. Mika?
I looked it up in the phone book.
How did you choose her service over any of the others?
It was the only one in town. I live in a rural area.
So she was the only game in town.
Yes.
Did you make an appointment to see her?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Where did you go?
She came to my house.
On what date did she come to your home?
March 1st, 2002.
Tell me about the meeting.
All right, she came and she had told me that she'd had these people that she would introduce me to, and she said that basically that your trouble looking for people will be over. I'll send you, at first she said 10 to 15 referrals per month, but in the contract she wrote 6 to 8, and that I would pay $24.95 up front, and that I would get a minimum of 6 to 8 referrals per month for life or until I was married. So she came.
That's $2,495.
That's correct, $2,495.
Okay.
So I had received 12 referrals at the time I signed up for the contract. Should I tell the rest of the story with it?
Absolutely.
Okay. The first person I went out with was a school teacher, and she thought would be a good match. And when I went out with her, we went to a restaurant, and she says, there's one thing I have to tell you. I think you're a really nice guy, Jim, but I am going out with someone. And Carol knew that at the time she set me up with you, and she should have never set me up with you. She also told me that she had paid $1,200 for the dating service, and her boyfriend had only paid $750. And she asked how much I paid, and I had to admit that I paid nearly $2,500. I had gone out with 2 of the other 12 people before I left for the state of Maine on June 17th, and at that time, neither one of those worked out. When I came back from Maine on October 31st, I called Carol again in November, assuming I would get more referrals, and she did not give me any, and she kept saying, I'll give you some later on. And on December 3rd, she told me that she had the perfect person for me, that I just have to pay her another $1,250 and she would give me that referral.
Why did you have to pay her another $1,250?
Because she said that the other person didn't have the membership fee, so I'd have to pay half her membership fee before she could introduce us, Your Honor.
And what did you say to her?
I said, no, I can't afford to do that.
That was in December of 2002.
Yes, in December. So I continued calling her until early January, hoping to find people. And at the beginning of January, I think it was either on the 7th or the 9th, she said, you know, I'll call you when I have someone. Don't call me, I'll call you. And after a month, when she hadn't called back, I filed a document stating that I wanted my money back within 10 days, otherwise it would take legal action.
Can I see the contract, please?
I've got a contract and the letter I sent. They're both here, Your Honor.
Thank you. The names written on top of this contract, are those the names of the people that she furnished you with, sir?
Yes, they are.
In your letter, you say that recently you told me personally that you could not fulfill the terms of our contract due to the fact that I am blind. Did she ever say that to you, sir? Or did she say the reason I'm having difficulty is because you're blind?
Well, she said that it's hard to find people because you're blind. That's what she told me.
Okay. I just wanted the exact language, sir.
Right.
She didn't say I'm not able to fulfill the contract because
Right.
of your
She said she can't find people for me because I'm blind.
Okay, fine. Okay, Ms. Coker, now I'll hear you.
Your Honor, first of all, Mr. Micah joined my service on March the 4th. In fact, I have his contract here.
I have a copy of it. I've been looking at it.
Okay. All right. At this time, when I had given him the ladies' names and numbers, he told me he was a very proud man. He told me that he had a dog named Gidget and that he walked 10 to 12 miles per day and that he was very self-sufficient and that he could maintain his livelihood and so forth. So when he met even the one lady that he's speaking of particularly, okay, when he joined the dating service, I gave him her number as well as many other ladies' names and numbers.
I got you. So,
okay.
let's go.
Also, he asked me not to hold him being blind against him, and I told him I do not discriminate. I am
No.
not.
All right, so now I have some specific questions for you. Did you ever say to him that you had someone that you thought would be perfect, but that that person could not afford to pay their membership? And would he be interested in paying for 1/2 of her membership so that you could make the introduction?
No, ma'am. That statement was not made, ever.
In December, you never had someone that you thought was great for him, but who couldn't come up with the membership in your
No, ma'am.
organization?
I told him then that the lady had moved and that she was having trouble coming up with her funds, and as soon as she got her tax refund, she was going to join the dating service. At that time, I asked him if he would work with me. He said yes. I had
Work with him how?
Give me time to get more people in, that I would reduce my cost, that I would give free memberships to ladies for him to meet. I would do anything.
Well, why don't you do that with this lady?
Well, because bottom line, Your Honor, I'm not God. I have no control over people losing jobs.
Oh, listen to me. You're not following. You're doing a lot of double talking. You can't go to double talk me, Miss Coker. You just said to me that you had a lady that you thought was suitable for him in December. The only problem is she had lost her job and she didn't have the funds to join your service.
Correct.
So you were going to wait for her to get some funds to join your service before you introduced her to Mr. Mika.
That's correct.
And 2 seconds before you said you told him that you were going to reduce your fee or not charge a fee so that he could in fact meet people.
Ma'am, that was in December.
That's what I'm saying to you. That was in December.
Correct.
So?
In January was when I told him I would start reducing my fee to the
Why
ladies.
didn't you do it in December? You weren't fulfilling your contract in December. Why didn't you do it in
Ma'am,
December?
he was still seeing the lady that he was originally had met through my dating service.
Were you dating somebody then, Mr. Mika?
No, Your Honor, I was not.
Okay. My next question, Ms. Coker, is, do you have one set fee for everyone? Answer the question, madam.
Yes, I have one set fee for everyone.
Okay. Now, so that if I were to pick up the telephone and call these 12 women, they would tell me that each of them paid $2,495 for your service.
According to what time they joined the service, how long they've been in the service.
That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking, you're double talking me again.
Ma'am, what I'm stating is that when cost of advertising goes up, I have to increase my price. Okay?
In March of 2002.
If someone...
It's very easy to find out, Ms. Coker. I'm speaking. In March of 2002, in April of 2002, and in February of 2002, are you telling me that everyone who joined your service paid $2,495?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Mika, you have the telephone number of this woman that you...
I can give it to you. It's 352.
Mm-hmm. Well, she might be working now, but let's try it.
Your Honor, may I speak?
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
When you say you were with Patty, had you spent Christmas with her?
Yes.
Not with Miss Lipman?
I spent Christmas morning with her.
So that you were really leading kind of a double life?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Mika claims he was ripped off by dating service owner Carol Coker. Carol insists she lived up to her part of their agreement.
Well, first of all, you'd be happy to know that she is no longer seeing the guy but she likes you as a friend. She's crazy about your dog. She paid half what you did for your membership. She paid $1,200. And she joined about a year and a half ago. So you have different amounts that you charge for different people. You charged him twice as much. Any reason for that, Ms. Coker?
Ma'am, she joined a year and a half or 2 years ago.
No.
She did not join the day that Jim Micah joined.
That's not what I'm saying to you, Ms. Coker. Don't play with me. Your advertising costs didn't double in 4 months. You say to me, when your costs go up, that goes up.
That is correct.
Mr. Mika, I'm not going to play with this case anymore. I think that she took advantage of you. I think that she took advantage of you financially. I think that she does have different amounts of money that she charges different people. I don't think that there is any set fee for her service. I think she charges what traffic will bear. In your case, traffic was $24.95. Some people it's $1,200, some people it's $600. She was certainly not honest with me when she said that everybody gets the same fee who signs up at the same time. I do not believe her. I also don't believe that she followed through with her contract. I think that the statement she made to you that in December that she had somebody that would be perfect but she couldn't come up with her fee was designed to have you say, if she didn't say it right up front, I will pay the fee if you have somebody that's perfect. I think that that's dishonest. I also think that she did furnish you with some ladies' names, one of whom at least you have a nice friendship with, because I understand, at least from her mother, that she's fond of you, and as I said, she's crazy about your dog. So you're not entitled to your entire refund back, but you don't want the service anymore, you're entitled to most of it back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She figured I was blind and I was desperate and she could take me for a ride.
I only wish that the handicapped, when they want us not to blame for them or not to discriminate them for being handicapped, don't turn it around and make it look like we're the bad person when they do have a handicap when we didn't cause them to be handicapped.
I guess I showed her I wasn't quite as dumb as she thought I was.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brown versus Lipman, step forward, please.
44-year-old bar owner Thomas Brown is suing his ex-fiancée, 56-year-old pharmacist Leanne Lipman, for the return of a ring and for stolen property. Leanne claims Thomas was unfaithful.
Mr. Brown, how long were you engaged to Miss Lipman?
Just under 2 months.
Your complaint alleges a couple of things. That she stole some things from your apartment on the night that you broke up with her, that she refused to return the engagement ring, and that she destroyed some of your property by spilling perfume all over your apartment. And Miss Lipman says, no, 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 I did none of those things. So I was sort of interested in reading your complaint, sir. You were engaged to Miss Lipman for 2 months.
That's correct.
And prior to that, you had another girlfriend or another fiancée?
Yes.
And what was her name?
Patty.
And how long were you with Patty?
2 years.
When did you break up with Patty?
Probably July of 2002.
And when did you meet Miss Lipman?
August of 2002.
And when did you become engaged to Miss Lipman?
October 31st, 2002.
And on what date did you break up with Miss Lipman?
December 27th, 2002.
And you went back to Patty?
That's correct.
When had you started to see Patty again?
Approximately the last week of November.
Did you tell Miss Lipman?
No, I didn't.
Now, what happened on December 27th, 2002, Mr. Brown?
Well, on December 27th, I was with Patty, and Leanne was going to come and visit me.
But Miss Lipman didn't know that you were with Patty, is that right?
That's correct.
When you say you were with Patty, that was around holiday time.
That's correct.
Had you spent Christmas with her?
Yes.
With Patty?
Yes.
Not with Miss Lipman?
I spent Christmas morning with her.
So that you were really leading kind of a double life?
Yes, I was. I was trying to wait until after Christmas to break off with Leanne. I just did not want to ruin her holidays.
Did you get her a present for Christmas?
Yes, I did.
What did you buy for her?
I think it was a Green Bay Packer jersey, and she's a big Packer fan.
And what did she buy for you?
I believe she bought me a shirt and a sweater, which she ended up taking back.
Now tell me what happened on December 27th. Miss Lipman was coming to visit, and you were with Patty.
And I informed Leanne that I had started seeing Patty again, and she was in her car on the way to my place, and she went absolutely ballistic. I mean, she started screaming, going absolutely berserk. So I told Patty, I said that we should probably leave my place. And I decided to leave my place open, knowing Leanne was over 2 hours from home and probably would need some place to stay and probably would not be in shape to drive. So I left my place open, and that's when she decided to do all the damage.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Thomas Brown is suing his ex-fiancée, Leanne Lipman, for the return of a ring and for stolen property. Leanne claims Thomas was unfaithful.
What time did you arrive there, Miss Lipman?
Approximately 9 o'clock. I've got my cell phone bills to show when I was talking to him.
You got there about 9 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And the door was open.
Mm-hmm. But it always was. He never
I understand
left.
the door was open. And when did you return to your apartment, Mr. Brown?
Saturday morning.
What time?
Approximately 8 o'clock.
Was Miss Lipman still there?
Yes, she was.
Tell me what the apartment looked like when you got there.
It didn't look bad at that point, and it did not smell bad at that point either.
Okay. So when you came home, looked normal?
Until I went into the drawers.
And what happened when you looked in the drawers?
Well, when I went in the drawers, I found some pictures that I had taken on cruise lines that were all torn up.
I see that, girl.
Like this. I got 3 different photos. And then also in the same drawer as these photos were these 2 ring boxes, which this one had a pair of diamond earrings in it.
What was that for?
I had bought them for Patty, actually, and then I bought her a bigger pair, so I had these.
When did you buy those for Patty?
About a year earlier, Christmas the year before.
So, her you bought a jersey, and Patty you bought diamond earrings.
Well, that's correct.
Right. And you were still holding on to those earrings, is that right? For what reason?
For what reason?
Yeah.
Well, they were diamond earrings. You know, I couldn't take them back.
Okay. And what else was missing from the other box?
Well, this was the original engagement ring container, and in this was another gold band. That was the wedding band of the engagement ring.
That's not the original.
Just a minute, I'll get to you in a second. And what else?
Well, you know, she tried so much to destroy my life at that point. I own a restaurant in Wisconsin, and she went upstairs to the bar boasting of what she did to my apartment, destroying pictures and things like that.
Of course she ripped up the pictures, right, Miss Lipman?
Of course. And I don't think I ripped up all those, because I only ripped up colored ones, and I think one was black and white. And I ripped up the pictures of Tom and I also.
But you ripped up these? Of course you
Right.
did. Okay. So we got the destruction of the pictures, which you'll never be able to replace. Then we have the diamond earrings. Miss Lipman, did you take those?
No, I did not.
What about the wedding band?
No, I did not.
Miss Lipman, look at me. What about spilling perfume? Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Sure you did. I love it.
But I didn't get the perfume on the leather part of the jacket.
Listen to me. You did that on purpose? Sure. What did she destroy, Mr. Brown?
Well, she tried to destroy my relationship with Patty.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah, well,
Grow up.
she called her family telling her everything.
Grow up.
Okay.
That's your problem.
Yeah. And, well, she...
I
well,
mean,
she went into
what
my...
you destroyed in your apartment with the perfume.
She just made it so it was unbearable to smell for a couple days in there.
What do you want me to do about that?
Well, I had to spend the first night in a motel.
This wasn't the first time, was it?
No, it wasn't the first time.
Live with it. What's next?
Some of my clothing was missing.
Did you take any of his clothing?
The only thing I can figure out, I do have a Neil Diamond sweatshirt that I always wore when I was there, and I did find it in my laundry later.
He wants his Neil Diamond sweatshirt back. Give it to him. What else do you want?
I want the ring back, the engagement ring.
Where's the engagement ring?
Right here.
Give it to him. I don't want it. Give it to him. Perfect. Good. Now you have it back. What else?
She took my dishes.
Are you kidding me or what?
No, she took my dishes.
Is she suing you for the gas that it took her to get to your house to find out that you were with somebody else?
Not so far.
What's next? What's next?
Just she went to my computer address book and emailed all the people in there telling them what a rat I was.
You were?
I am.
What's next?
That's pretty much it outside.
Good, you got your ring back. Bye.
Now, this is case number 589 on the calendar in the matter of Tomlin versus Foster. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Tomlin, according to your complaint, you and Mr. Foster were together for about 3 years. You were engaged to be married. You lived together?
Yes, ma'am.
And you made a loan to Mr. Foster in excess of $4,000 to have his car fixed?
That's correct.
You want him to pay back the money. You're no longer together. Mr. Foster says there was never a loan. You lived together as a family. He spent a lot of money on you and your family, and there was never a question of payback until you were no longer together. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you start to live together, Ms. Tomlin?
2001.
What month?
Oh, I'm sorry. Be March.
And did Mr. Foster move into your home?
He moved into my home.
And who lived in the home?
Myself and my 3 children.
Do you have any children, Mr. Foster?
Yes, ma'am. One son.
That son ever visit? Do you spend time with that child?
Very rarely.
And when did you separate?
Just recently. It was in February.
And when was this alleged car loan?
November 2002.
Tell me about it.
Well, his car, the engine blew in his car. So consequently, I had to take him to work for about 6 weeks. I took him to work in Des Moines. I live in Newton, which is about a 45-minute commute. He knew that I was considering getting a second mortgage to do a debt consolidation. I have a daughter in college. And he asked me what I thought about just borrowing enough money to also pay off getting the engine fixed in his car.
And you did?
Yes, ma'am. I sure did.
And you did? Okay. So?
We got his car back. Everything seemed to be going pretty smoothly until I come home to an email that I found on the computer one day. And I would like you to see it.
Sure.
This is why I asked him to leave my house. It's very disgusting. And I found out that he was seeing somebody that he had met on the internet.
So you asked him to leave?
Yes, I did. You notice there's a phone number on that she gave him, and I called the phone number. I was furious. She answered, and I said, I know you don't know who I am, but I said, I found my fiance's email, and his name, I told her, and I said, is he on his way there? And she said, well, yeah, he should be here in a few minutes. I called Dale on his cell phone, and of course he denied everything until I read him the contents of the email and that I had called this person. And then of course he started to backpedal, and he says, oh, Mom, I'm coming home. I'm turning around, coming home. He was supposedly on the way to visit his mother. Then he had the nerve to tell me, Your Honor, that it was my fault that he was messing around because I spend too much time with my kids, that I'm too involved with them and there's not enough time for him. I mean, I'm still very upset about this. I just feel like I've just been played here tremendously, and now I've got this huge debt and he's got a car that he's driving around and with new tires on it and his stereo, and so.
Okay, let's hear what Mr. Foster has to say.
When we, back in August, we decided we would refinance, and I would take some out of my thrift savings plan. She would refinance her home to clean up the debts between us. That way, when we actually got together, our finances would be in order.
August of what year, sir?
2002.
So in August of 2002, you took out some money from where?
From thrift savings plans, government equivalent to a 401k.
And what did you do with the money?
I cleaned up a lot of my debts, and I set about $4,500 aside to take care of the engine of my car.
Yes.
But as time progressed and the car wasn't finished yet, we started chipping away at the...
Chipping away how?
Oh, we took a small vacation to Lake Okoboji, her and her 3 kids.
Yes.
And then we we went to Branson for a week.
Yes.
And there were some other debts that I had.
Did you discuss with Ms. Tomlin that you were using your car money for those trips?
No.
So how was she supposed to know that? So let me understand this, Mr. Foster. When you took out the money from your 401k plan to pay off your bills, those were your bills, not her bills. Is that right?
That's right.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, Mr. Foster, because in your answer, you seem to indicate that it was for joint bills, but they were not. So you took out money and you paid for your bills. I'm just curious, what bills did you have?
Just different things on my credit report. I had a problem with the bank. It had to be paid off.
How much?
$1,500.
How much did you take out?
$15,000.
What'd you do with all the money? $1,500 isn't $15,000.
There were other bills that had come up, different car bills, a bounce check
here or there.
How old
Bills
is
that
your
I had
son?
to-
How old is your son?
5.
You pay child support?
No, the mother refuses child support.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So if you took her on 2 vacations in 3 years,
Your Honor.
assuming that it's true, total support, 2 little vacations, right?
And later today,
$5,000 for what?
For the abuse, the damage to the property that I'm being sued
Just a
for.
second,
He
Miss
needs
King.
to be a man and stand up for his
Pay attention to me!
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Tomlin says she ended her engagement with Ernest Dale Foster when she caught him cheating. She is suing for unpaid loans.
So give me a reason, Mr. Foster, why you should not pay Ms. Tomlin the money that you blew on a variety of other things other than your car engine.
We had gone on the trips. We had spent money.
Well, let me ask you this question, sir. Did you pay mortgage expenses when you lived in the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay?
Usually half my paycheck, $300 to $500.
And you paid that religiously for the 3 years that you lived together?
No, the first year I had just come out of a bad divorce and a bankruptcy, so
You paid nothing.
nothing the first year.
And in year 2?
Sporadic.
So basically you were living rent-free for the first at least year and a half that you were living there.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you took her on 2 vacations in 3 years, you'd figure that you're still ahead of the game.
Your Honor.
Even if it was true. I'm just asking. Okay. Assuming that it's true, Ms. Tomlin. But assuming that what you tell me is true, she supported you for a year and a half, you got a job, you were making some money, you took her on 2 vacations. Total support, 2 little vacations. Right?
Caught? No.
So when are you going to pay her back the money?
I don't know.
Try now. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,800. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. You have no idea what it made me feel like because I have supported him for so long.
Man walks in, man gets hammered.
And then to find out that this was going on behind my back.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of King versus Ward. Step forward, please.
Supermarket cashier Kathy King is suing her ex-boyfriend, carpenter Ron Ward, for medical bills and lost wages due to his continual abuse.
According to what I read, you and the defendant had a long relationship, and you don't have any children together, but you had children that lived in the home with you.
Yes, correct.
While, according to you, this domestic violence situation was going on for a long time.
Yes, it has been.
And what you're suing Mr. Ward for is for a series of assaults, in one of which you say you were seriously injured.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Mr. Ward says that he neither drinks, which you allege, or has ever put his hands on you. Is that right, sir?
I've never, ever hit her.
You say the first incident that you're complaining of occurred in January. You want to tell me what happened?
Yes, basically there was a series of incidents with Mr. Ward's drinking, from the Long Beach Grand Prix where he was punching out people to his 17-year-old son trying to commit suicide. We also had his...
Could we stop with the drama? And what I want you to tell me is what happened with you in January. What assault you are complaining of
Basically,
in January?
he had been drinking New Year's Eve, and we found him in the garage drinking a bottle of wine. We proceeded to bring him in. He went to bed.
And is that something that you are suing him for?
No, it's the injuries that I've heard from...
Well, tell me about it.
Okay,
Jen.
basically, he came in from the house. His son tried to put him to bed. He had roughed me house. I have went to the doctors. I have the doctor reports.
Okay, let me see it.
Salt staples.
Says you went to the doctor on January 11th.
January 11th.
Just a second. 10 days after this alleged roughing up.
Basically, yes, I did. I wasn't sore till then.
Okay, next. Let me have next.
And then from there on...
Just a second. You didn't throw him out of the house?
Not at that time, no.
And you didn't leave?
No, I did not.
What's next?
Then on February 14th, he came home. He was upset about things that were happening at work. He started drinking. From there, he turned around and took a vase, threw it at me, hit me in the head. I then called the police that night. They came out. The officer was a new officer named. He said he wasn't going to proceed to go wake up Mr. Ward, but he'd be back the next day. He's seen the damage. I have pictures of the...
Okay, let me see the police report from February 14th, please.
Would you like the picture, too? It's the vase. When it hit my head, it hit the noyum and caused a tear in the noyum.
No, I just want to see.
Okay.
You don't have a picture of your head, do you?
No, there was a bump.
That is what I would have taken a picture of, not anything else.
I did ask to go to the doctors, Your Honor, from the cops that night, and they did not take me.
You're a big girl. If you were injured, then you go to the doctor. If you made the first step and called the police, you make the second step if you're injured and go to the doctor. Now, what happened after February 14th?
I told him that he couldn't come home.
Good.
He didn't come home for a while. Then I let him back in. He promised me that he would get himself out of debt. He was...
Okay, just a second. So you let him back in. When did you let him back in?
I let him back in probably 2 days later. He stayed in a hotel for 2 days.
So a couple of days later, he came home.
And he said that he would go and he would get help as far as treatment.
Good.
But he failed to take AA. He went into a study for relationships.
Ms. King, when did he go into treatment?
April.
Right, so you took him back immediately. So you lived with him in January, when you got roughed up, according to you. February, when he threw a vase at you. March, and he went into treatment in April. But you lived with him all this time.
Unfortunately, yes, I had.
Ms. King, I'm asking you questions.
Yes.
I understand the drill when you claim that you've been battered, but sometimes it's difficult to extricate yourself. I understand all that. And you finally did, according to your complaint.
I did.
Good. So why are you here?
Because of the abuse, they have jeopardized my job. He told me that if I went and took him to court, he would make my child motherless.
What was he talking about if you took him to court? What court?
We went to small claims.
For what?
For damage of the house. I was being sued from the landlord that is in this courtroom. He's only suing me because they happen to be drinking buddies and friends.
Just a minute. So you've been to small claims court with regard to other things?
Correct, I have.
With regard to landlord and tenant dispute?
And
is
abuse.
That so far?
Yes.
And is there a judgment against you from landlord and tenant court?
It was a total of $4,000.
Okay. Now, what was the next case that you had?
I have terminated my daycare provider that is also in the courtroom. After Ron had vacated
That's this lady over here?
Yes.
And?
She needed a place to live. Her and her husband entered my home and agreed to pay me half of the rent and half of the bills to help out.
What did she sue you for?
A rental car, $2,600.
You owed her for a rental car because you rented a rental car on her credit card?
Correct. She won $642 and I won $26.88. Then she filed an appeal, and then right now I'm still fighting it because I don't think the judge knew that I had a case.
What was the ultimate decision?
She got $642.
What's next?
Basically, after February 14th and April, he completed the class. He was instructed to go through the psychiatry program through AA. He didn't want to go back. I told him, we're done.
So that's fine. That's in May. You told him you're done.
So then basically, he vacated the premises. He's left me with tons of bills. I'm being sued by the landlord, which
he's not part of his complaint. So he left in May?
He left in May.
So what are you doing here?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy King says she endured physical beatings at the hand of her ex-boyfriend, Ron Ward. Ron claims he's never laid a finger on her.
So what are you doing here? May, June, July, August,
I've been abused. He jeopardized my home.
Are you talking about prior to May?
Because of the injuries, I wasn't able to go to work. And because of that, in the Retail Clerks Union, you have to submit amount of hours in the grocery store to receive insurance.
Ms. King, let me explain something to you. This is not windfall day. If you wanted to sue somebody because they assaulted you and injured you, you sue them in January, you sue them in February, not a year and a half later. That's number one. It appears to me as if there has been an ongoing abuse of the judicial system and a lot of time wasted on this relationship that is now terminated. I certainly have absolutely no intention of becoming a party to this, what we call in French, mishigas, or craziness. Pay careful attention. You claim to be a battered almost spouse. You had a 4-year relationship. You had no children together. There was no reason for you to stay together. If you were involved with, see, you don't have to say a word. If you were involved with a man who drinks, and you brought him into your home, and you have a child, that doesn't make you a very good parent. There was nothing tying you to this man. If he was a drinker, leave.
I loved him. And,
no, you
and
left
the first 2 years.
Listen to me. If you left him, then we wouldn't be here. Then we wouldn't be here. Your problem now is you now have judgments against you for a substantial amount of money, and you're hoping to even the score. That is not going to happen. In January, when you claim he roughed you up, you chose to go to the doctor 11 days after this alleged struggle. You again allege that you were injured February 14th when he, you say in your complaint, smashed a vase over your head.
He did.
Now, when you testified, you said he threw a vase at you and it hit you in the head. That's different. However, you chose to take a photograph of a wall rather than your head. I don't understand that.
But I did.
To me, just listen to me. If I wanted to make a case, I would take a picture of my injury. I would not take a picture of a wall. Now, you may not take a picture of anything. That I could understand. But to take a picture of a wall rather than your head, that I don't understand. Now is not the time to exacerbate what you allege was an abusive situation that terminated a year ago.
I went into 6 months of counseling to get myself recovered from it.
That's wonderful. So what are you doing here? You say that
pain and
this man-
suffering. He has caused me a lot. I have been in
Madam,
court
you're a
system.
big girl. You're a big girl. You got yourself well. You claim he's an abuser.
He is.
You can't claim he's an abuser. Then if you're well and well rid of him, what are you doing here but for the fact that you're being sued by a lot of other people and at least 3 different judges found that you were mistaken?
No, the judge that gave me and Ron a wash said he awarded Ron $5,000 and me $5,000 and told me to take Ron to civil court and go for the whole thing because
Just a second, what judge awarded you $5,000 for what?
For the abuse, the damage to the property that I'm being sued for.
Just a second, you sued it. Just a second,
He
Miss
needs
King.
to be a man and stand up for his
Pay attention to
responsibility.
me. Are you telling me that you sued him before another judge at another time for abuse?
No, I sued him for loss of wages and damages, and he felt that I needed to take it.
Loss of wages due to what?
Abuse.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
this is case number 533 on the calendar in the matter of Mahmoud versus Fox. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Miss Mahmoud, you and the defendant were in an automobile accident.
Yes.
Each of you were driving your respective cars, and you are suing the defendant for both bodily injury
Yes.
and the damage to your car, which was totaled as a result of this
Yes.
accident. Mr. Fox says that you caused the accident because you were speeding to make a yellow flashing light. Is that right, sir?
Yeah.
Your Honor, he's lying.
Where are you from?
Berlin, Wisconsin.
Berlin, Wisconsin. They do have paved roads there, do they not?
Yes.
All right, because I read your defense to this case, and I was just curious. That'll become clear in a moment. What was the date of the accident?
It was January 23rd.
What time?
It was around 12 o'clock at night.
Weather conditions?
It was nice outside. It was normal weather.
And you were traveling down a one-way street?
No, I was going down Lincoln Avenue. It's a two-way street. He was coming on a one-way street the wrong way.
Okay, so you were going down a two-way street?
Two-way street, yes. Something like that.
And he was coming from a side street?
Yes. I'm sorry.
You're going down a two-way street. There are streets that intersect that two-way street. One of the streets was a street he was coming down on. But that street is a one-way street, and he was coming down that street the wrong way.
Yes.
So you weren't expecting
a
car to come out of that street because...
That's the wrong way
It's the wrong way.
Even if I were to look, I wouldn't have looked that way.
Because there were arrows that say
Exactly.
one way. And so you were hit in the intersection.
Yes.
Tell me what happened when you were hit.
my car started blowing up on fire. I couldn't get out of my car. I started kicking my door, and it finally opened up. I walk out the car, and I'm screaming, yelling, I'm going crazy. I mean, my car is burning up. It's on fire.
Was it actually on fire?
Yes, it was.
It was just smoking?
No, it was on fire. It was blowing up everywhere. It was really scary. And I walk out the car, and he's still sitting in his car. I don't know what he was doing. He had like his head down, or I guess, or whatever. And he gets out the car. He was asking me if I was okay and blessing the God and this and this and that. And he didn't even know he was going the wrong way, even after a couple, like 2 or 3 minutes later.
Just a minute. Okay, it's enough. Were you going down a one-way street the wrong way?
Yes.
Where had you been?
I was heading south.
Where had you
Where have I
been?
been? Oh, I was coming back from Milwaukee, heading back towards Oshkosh.
But what were you doing? It was 12 o'clock at night. Where had you been?
I was off the off-ramp on...
Mr. Fox, I'd like you to pay attention.
Okay.
I know you have your own agenda. I have an agenda. Where had you been? Had you been working? Had you been with friends? Had you been out for dinner? Where had you been?
Friends.
Friends' home.
Racine.
I don't care where it is. Friends' home is my question. Or with friends at a bar, with friends at a restaurant.
At the house.
At whose house?
My buddy's house.
Had you been there before?
No.
And you'd spent the evening doing what?
We were playing pool about an hour and a half away from the accident. And I was returning home to town to get some clothes. I was looking for employment opportunities.
Mr. Fox, we have a problem here.
Huh.
Were you at a friend's house playing pool, or were you at someplace else playing pool?
I was at a friend's house playing pool, and I returned home, and...
Okay. What's your friend's name?
Josh,
How many other people were playing pool there?
just him and I and his grandfather.
Now, it is your claim, Mr. Fox, that Miss Mohammed caused this accident.
The direction that I was going when I turned back around to get to the freeway, the intersection with the map I have here, it didn't matter which direction I was going or where she was heading to. We would have struck. She was speeding. She tried to pull a yellow light, too.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know, going downtown more than once, finding my police records. They lost the police records, God knows how. Doing all this other stuff. I mean, he's been taking time.
Life is full of aggravation.
And later today,
What do you think you're going to be successful at if you don't go to school?
Nothing.
Right. Is that what you want to be?
No.
What do you do when you don't go to school?
Run the streets.
Shh.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nina Mahmood says her accident with Andrew Fox was the result of him driving the wrong way down a one-way street. Andrew says Nina was speeding.
Mr. Fox, you were given a citation.
Yeah.
For what?
Reckless driving.
Here you go. Did you plead guilty?
No.
What'd you do?
Need some time to pay the fine.
Oh, just a second.
Not
Mr.
guilty,
Fox,
then.
what are you laughing at? It's not funny. Don't be ridiculous. If you get a ticket for reckless driving, you have to respond within a certain period of time. This incident happened on the 23rd of January. By this time, you would have either pled guilty, gone to trial, or been found not guilty. Now, which one is it?
Your Honor, I pled not guilty, and there was flashing red lights in the intersection because the cop told me.
Speak to me.
Okay. The cop told me straight out there's a lot of accidents.
Just pay attention. You pled not guilty, and what happened?
I haven't heard anything from the courts yet.
Let me see pictures. Yeah, see you have pictures there. Let me see the ticket that you got, sir.
I don't have the ticket. I just have a map and email.
Excuse me? I don't want to look at your map.
No ticket.
Ma'am, would you like the police report?
Yes.
It's a gift from my mother.
And she didn't put insurance on the car?
No, she expected me to do it. I barely even drove the car around. I barely ever used it. I mean, I was just waiting until I had enough money to be able to put insurance on it.
What year car was it?
It was a 94 Chrysler New Yorker.
What kind of injuries did you have?
I had like, my thumb was sprained and my wrist was kind of messed up. So they gave me a cast to where I didn't go to work for 2 days because of it. I had bruises. I had like huge bruises on my legs. I mean, just really nasty, awful things.
Okay, now what kind of car were you driving, Mr. Fox?
99 Grand Am.
Have insurance?
No.
Why not?
They dropped me.
Why?
Because they said I didn't pay for a premium 2 weeks previously.
You too were driving an uninsured vehicle.
Correct.
Well, Mr. Fox, the police officer who conducted the investigation clearly found that the accident was caused by your reckless driving and driving down a one-way street the wrong way. You know, that sort of thing happens, and sometimes it's an accident. Unintentional. Sometimes it's not because you're drunk or because you're stoned or because you're high. Sometimes you just drive up the wrong way on a street until you realize that somebody honks their horn and you turn around and hopefully you don't kill anybody. You almost killed somebody. You are responsible. Now, I will tell Ms. Mohammed that I think it's very foolish to drive a car
without insurance.
Without insurance.
I know that it was foolish, but it wasn't like I was driving around all the time. I was waiting.
I don't care whether you drive around the block. That's foolish.
It's true.
That's foolish. Okay? However, Mr. Fox, your problem is you caused an accident that caused both physical injury and property damage. And how do you expect to resolve that, sir?
Did it really matter which direction I was going in the intersection? With I saw lights, she saw lights, she tried to speed through them, and with the map here, you can see.
I want you to understand something. The police officer found the accident was your fault. I find the accident was your fault. How do you plan to resolve the problem of the damage you caused? I'm past that, Mr. Fox. Get past it. It was your fault.
All right.
Well, the total out-of-pocket expenses that you have were $3,383.
Well, besides the fact of me taking the bus every day to and from school, to and from work, you know, going downtown more than once, finding my police records. They lost the police records, God knows how. Doing all this other stuff. I mean, he's been taking
aggravation.
Excuse me?
Life is full of aggravation. It's called aggravation.
Well, yeah, it's aggravation, but I mean, it's caused because of him. It wasn't like it just happened from nowhere.
No, listen to me. It was caused because you were involved in an accident. Now, you could have minimized your own personal damage if you had done the right thing and insured your car.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's not responsible for your car, but this is not windfall day for you. Do you understand that?
I don't understand what you mean, windfall.
That means that he is responsible for your car.
Okay.
But I don't want you to start telling me that you had to take the bus to school every day.
I did.
And go downtown because you think that he's going to pay for that.
Oh, I'm not
He's
saying
not.
that he's going to pay for it.
Good. So, judgment for the plaintiff. And the total out-of-pocket expenses are $3,383. And I am giving you the remainder of the money in your pain and suffering that you had for your thumb, which you say was jammed, and for the bruises that you had. So I'm adding to that an amount that will give you a total recovery of $4,000. Judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, she sent me some harassing emails first, and I'd return them in a professional manner, more or less stating I don't have the money right now. Sorry.
It's scary. Think about it. You know, you're coming out of a burning car. You're watching your car burn up in front of your face. That's not something that just goes away out of nowhere.
She likes to call me sweetheart and this and that. And first of all, her mother invited me over to spend the night that night, and I'm thinking to myself, why? So your son's more or
niceness,
less
maybe?
take a swing or two at me?
There was something wrong with him that night. I think he's like either cuckoo in his head or God knows whatever else.
I was not under the influence of any drugs or alcohol. I was just simply returning home and went down the wrong road. And seeing court there, I guess I was wrong.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Counsel versus Lowry, step forward, please.
18-year-old student Adrienne Counsel and her husband Chaz are suing Adrienne's mother, home health care worker Loretta Lowry, for the cost to support her 15-year-old sister, Toni Caldwell.
Miss Counsel, the defendant is your mom.
Yes.
Your mother-in-law.
Yes.
And according to what I've read, there was a time sometime last year when your younger sister came to live with you.
Yes.
And she came to live with you because she had had some sort of a falling out with your mother's husband.
Yes.
And it is your claim that your mother owes you money for your sister's support during the time that she lived with you.
Yes.
Okay. Just give me the month and year she came to live with you.
August 2002.
And how long did she live with you?
She's still living with us now.
She is?
Yes.
And how old is she now?
15.
She go to school in your house?
Yes.
She goes every day?
No, she doesn't.
Why not?
Some days she misses and stuff.
Come up here. What's your first name?
Tony.
Tony. You think you're a nice-looking girl?
Yeah.
Are you a nice girl?
Yes.
You want to be a successful girl?
Yes.
What do you think you're going to be successful at if you don't go to school?
Nothing.
Right. Is that what you want to be?
No.
So why don't you go every day?
I don't know.
What do you do when you don't go to school?
Just sit at home. Run the streets.
Shh. What are you getting out of being home that's better?
Nothing.
Isn't that foolish?
Yes.
I know you're giving me all the answers that you know I want to hear, which is very smart, but, you know, be smart and do it. Really just dumb. You don't want to stay dumb. Did you ever hear the expression, beauty fades, dumb is forever?
No.
Well, you know what it means?
No, ma'am.
Well, I'm going to explain to you what it means. That means you're a pretty girl. But eventually, when you get older, you may be a nice-looking person, but some of those looks are going to get a little old and, you know, not as pretty and fresh as you are now. So beauty does fade. Fades, it goes away. But dumb lasts forever. If you're dumb, you're always going to be dumb. And the only way to get smart is to go to school, to set your sights on something that you want to do to make yourself into a whole person. What does your mother do for a living?
Home health aide.
Does she love her job?
Yes.
Was she always a home health aide?
No, ma'am.
What did she do before that?
McDonald's, Burger King.
Do you think your mother would have been happier if she went to school?
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Right.
Did you have an arrangement with your mother when your sister came to live with you?
Yes.
What was your arrangement?
The arrangement was she would give us $50 for food and $100 for rent per month for Tony staying there. And it would be temporary.
All right. So, Miss Lowry, let me hear. According to you, you asked your daughter to take in your younger daughter, Tony, because she wasn't getting along with your boyfriend.
My husband.
Or your husband. How long have you been married?
It would have been 10 years in April.
Do you have children together?
Yes, we do. We got 4
How many
others.
children?
4 others.
4 younger than Tony?
Yes.
What kind of work does your husband do?
He's not working now.
Why not?
He suffers from depression.
Well, how do you support your family? You can't support your family on what you get as a home health aide.
Me and him have split up, so I don't stay there with him no more. I stay with my mom. And he take care of the girls, and he gets social service for the girls.
He gets welfare?
Yeah, but I got the baby with me.
Let's go through this. Your husband gets welfare for which children?
2 of the girls.
And where do they live?
With him.
And you have the younger child with you?
Yes.
Do you get any welfare for the younger child?
No, I don't.
Does anybody get welfare for Tony?
No.
How much money do you earn?
Every 2 weeks is $1,100.
And where is Tony's father?
He's around.
Does he send support for her?
No, he doesn't.
Why not? Did you ever pursue support for
Yeah,
Tony?
I tried, and it just got all messed up, so.
What do you mean it got all messed up? He has a responsibility to contribute to Tony's support. And if you're not living with your husband anymore, and if the reason that she went to live with her sister is because of a disagreement with your husband, why doesn't she come home to live with you?
I was going to go get her this April, because I got to get my apartment, because I stay with my mom. I left my
Her
husband, I stay
grandmother?
with yes. Her and my mom don't get along too well, so that's why I let her stay with my daughter.
Then you have to support her. Do you understand? Why should your daughter take care of her basic needs?
Well, I feel like if she was going to go after me, she should have went after Tony's father, too. Go after both of us. Don't just go after me. Don't just single me out.
Well, perhaps she should have. But you didn't either.
True.
And you certainly had more of a reason to pursue support than your younger daughter did. She singled you out, madam, because you elected to have your daughter leave the house instead of your husband leave the house at the time. In any event, $150 a month is certainly a minimal amount of support. 8 months that she's been living there at $150 a month is $1,200. And you earn $1,100 every 2 weeks, is that right? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200. That's all. Thank you.
It's case number 549 on the calendar in the matter of Burden versus Ashley. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
I've read your complaint very carefully, and these are the facts as I understand them. You wanted a child and found an attorney who suggested to you how you go about adopting a child, finding an infant to adopt. Somehow you were put in contact with the defendant, who was at that time 4 months pregnant, and at that time believed that she could not properly care for the baby and was interested in adoption. And over the course of her pregnancy, you provided certain living expenses for Miss Ashley, as well as certain medical insurance payments for her. And Miss Ashley then advised you that she had changed her mind and decided to keep the baby.
Correct.
Those are the facts. Is that right so far?
Mostly.
Well, tell me where I made a mistake.
The insurance payment, she had made the payment, but then she stopped payment on the check, so it wasn't actually made.
Okay. But other than that, she made whatever expenses that you had, amounting to, she says, about $4,000. And I understand how devastated you are, but you also probably understand that this is something that happens frequently.
Yes, it does.
So I have a few questions for you. In what month did you make contact with Miss Ashley?
September 2002.
And you spoke on the phone initially?
Correct. I was called on Friday, September 20th by the Adoption Law Center stating that there was a possibility of a birth mother. On Monday, September 23rd, Sarah and I spoke on the phone, maybe 30 to 45 minutes, questions and answers on both sides, what she was looking for, what thoughts I had. Then on Saturday, the 29th of September, we met in person at the hospital, talked further, just got to know each other.
And did you speak to Sarah directly with regard to making these living expense payments?
After I was told by the Adoption Law Center I had been chosen as the adoptive parent.
Where did that conversation take place?
Telephone in my house.
What did you say to her and what did she say to you?
She needed money immediately. I immediately went to Western Union. The first payment was to be $750, which came out to be...
No. She said to you, I need money immediately.
Like, can you please send it Western Union instead of a check?
And you said what?
Yes.
And then you proceeded to send that money and other monies?
Correct.
Okay. So you sent a total of $4,000. When did she call you and tell you that she had changed her mind?
On January 28th, I received a call while I was at work on my cell phone. Sarah said, I have something I need to talk to you about. I know you will be upset. I've changed my mind. I'm keeping the baby. I was extremely upset.
You did, in fact, know, and you had been told, I'm sure, by the Adoption Law Center that these things happen frequently.
There's every chance that can happen. And
Right.
as I said to Sarah on January 28th, I will not try to change your mind, but I do expect the monies that I gave you in good faith to be paid back.
Okay.
She agreed.
Oh, she agreed.
She agreed.
That's a different story. What did she say to you?
I should pay you the monies back. At that point, I probably did 90 miles an hour down Studebaker to get to my house.
Just a second. Did you tell Miss Burden that you would pay her back?
No, I didn't.
What did you tell her?
She did insist that I pay her back, and I told her I understood that she thought that I should pay her back. But I felt that I needed to talk to Adoption Law Center and find out if I was really, if
you were obligated to do it.
Exactly, if I was
you were
obligated.
obligated to do it. Okay, I have a few questions for you, Miss Ashley. Is this the first child that you've had?
Yes.
How many people sent you money during the course of your pregnancy?
Herself and the attorney at the Adoption Law Center sent me $100 prior to my choosing a family because I wasn't working.
Okay, but Miss Burden's family was the only family that you had selected.
Yes.
You didn't take money from 3 people for this baby.
No.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And tell me, if you can, when you decided that you wanted to keep your baby.
The night before I called her.
Baby wasn't born yet?
No.
You had a little girl? Mm-hmm. When was she born?
She was born February 27th.
Tell me, what was the deciding factor for you that you didn't want to give her up?
Mostly it was just that my entire situation from when I first got involved with the process of adoption had completely changed. When I had made the decision to go with adoption, I was being threatened of losing my place to live. I didn't have a job. I could barely take care of myself.
When did that change?
Probably when I was about 7 months pregnant is when I became pretty stable.
Is that when you decided to keep the baby?
No, I had still had that decision in my head. I was still thinking very logically, and it was just that getting closer to the end of the pregnancy, it became very emotional. You know, I'm showing more, becoming more attached to the baby. You know, they had given me the choice, did I want to have the baby in the room with me afterwards, things like that. Just, it became a lot more emotional than, you know, logical at that point.
I got you. How much prior to when you called Miss Burden did you actually make the decision to keep the baby?
Less than 12 hours, I would say.
Who is this?
This is my mother.
You living at home now?
Temporarily, yes.
Okay. With your daughter?
Yes.
You get along with your mother?
Yes.
Are you working?
Not right now. I'm still on maternity leave. The doctor has ordered me to stay for another 4 weeks.
But you have a job?
Yes.
Let me tell you why, Miss Burden, I'm asking these questions. I'm certain that you've been advised by the Adoption Law Center that these expenses are not reimbursable to you unless several things happen. One of those things, and the thing that I would find most legally objectionable, is if there was some fraud on Miss Ashley's part. If, for instance, she knew all along that she had no intention of giving up this child and fraudulently got you to pay expenses for her. I don't think that that's the case, listening to her. Another reason that I might find in your favor is if Miss Ashley had taken money from more than one prospective adoptive parent, because that too would have been fraudulent. But absent a contract or a loan that says this is merely a loan, get on your feet and then I will adopt your baby, but you're going to pay me this money back once you're able to work. The law does not permit us to prohibit her from changing her mind.
Exactly.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
he pushed me, and then they took off. And then when I was scratching up one of the CDs, they saw me through the window, so they came to the door and just kicked it in.
You leave 4 teenagers at home unsupervised, you expect trouble.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jody Burden says 19-year-old Sarah Ashley owes for the cost of a failed adoption. Sarah says she never agreed to pay.
So tell me why you pursue this case if you understand what the law is.
Because minutes after her phone call to me on January 28th, she also called the attorney at the Adoption Law Center, who then sent me a letter that states clearly that she also committed to him to repay back my monies.
Okay. But she says she didn't understand what her rights were. It's an emotional time.
Mm-hmm.
And she's under no obligation to pay back your money. And you were very upset at the time. So she says that she had to find out what her rights and responsibilities were. And I don't know what this person said to her because this person is not here.
Correct.
So, Ms. Burden, while it's a sad scenario, what happened to you, and you know that there are people out there who spend far more than the $4,000 that you've spent.
Oh, yes.
Tens and tens of thousands of dollars, and then been disappointed more than once. It happens. And it's sad that it happens, but it happens, and I can only hope Ms. Ashley is going to give this little girl a good life, right? At least you can feel a little comfortable about that. She's young. She made a mistake. I don't think that she fraudulently took your money. I think that she had all intentions of letting her daughter come and be part of your home. She's allowed to change her mind. The law gives her that right. So your case is unfortunately dismissed. Good luck to both of you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just glad that, you know, it was ruled the way it was because
that's what's fair.
Young women should definitely think seriously before considering adoption. Really make sure that's what they want.
It was very difficult. It's my child, you know. I really didn't want to give her up, but I felt that that's the only choice I had.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Edwards versus Thorson. Salinas, step forward.
Medical assistant Chris Edwards is suing her neighbors, Pamela Salinas, and her common-law husband, David Thorson, for the cost to fix her door. Pamela and David are countersuing for the cost of CDs and the money they've already spent on the door.
Miss Edwards, according to what I've read, and I'm trying to piece this together, the defendant's two sons, I assume these two young men, were spending the night at your house with your children, daughter and your son, and they slept over.
Yes.
What date was that?
That would have been on the 13th.
Of what?
Of June of 2002.
So sometime on the 14th of June, they sort of got into an argument, pushing, shoving, whatever, and the boys left. So far, is that right?
Yes.
But when they left, they realized that they had left some of their CDs in your house. So they came back to get their CDs. But you had locked the door.
Yes.
You did? Or your sister?
It was me, but it wasn't the door, it was the sliding link.
You had locked the door?
Yes.
So that they couldn't get back in?
No.
Yes. And you knocked at the door?
At first.
And then when they didn't let you back in, who kicked the door in? Raise your hand. You did. So you contacted the parents, he tried to fix the door, didn't do it to your liking, you had to fix yourself, you want the parents to pay for the door frame, whatever. And you have a counterclaim for the CDs, and then a piece of the counterclaim for the work that you put in fixing the door, which you don't get because you volunteered to do that. Do you understand, sir?
I understand, yes.
Good,
on that.
perfect. But you have a counterclaim for the CDs. So I have some particular questions for you, Miss Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
You were home on the evening of the 13th?
That's correct.
Were you home in the morning of the 14th?
No, I wasn't.
Where were you?
I was at work.
What time did you leave for work?
7 o'clock.
Who was supervising the children?
They were unsupervised.
How old are they?
My daughter's 15 and my son is 14.
And how old are the defendant's children?
I believe 14 and 13 or 14 and 15.
Have they slept over at your house before?
Never.
Was this a weekend or a weekday?
It was a weekday, however, school was out.
So you left the children unsupervised at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
Had you told the boys' parents that the children were going to be unsupervised?
The children knew that I worked.
Had you told the boys' parents that the children were going to be unsupervised?
No.
Do you believe that you have any I'm not talking about these boys for kicking in the door. That's a no-no, right? That was the wrong thing to do, correct?
Yes.
What kind of responsibility do you think you have? Not him. He did the wrong thing. You understand that?
Yes.
You leave 4 teenagers at home unsupervised, you expect trouble.
I leave 2 at home daily.
You may leave 2 at home daily, and if one of your children damages some of your property, you know, either by accident or on purpose or because they lost their temper or because they weren't thinking, then I assume you don't sue them. You take care of it, right? Mm-hmm. There's a difference between leaving 2 teenagers home that belong to you and taking the risk because they're your kids and you know who they are, and leaving 4 teenagers home, 2 of whom you don't know. They've never slept at your house before, right? So you don't think you have any responsibility?
I believe that I hold responsibility to my son's actions.
No. They entrusted you with their children overnight. I would have assumed that they would not let their children sleep at your house unless they knew you were home.
They did know I worked.
Just
Your
a
Honor.
second. Unless they knew you were home, they would not have allowed their children to stay at your house. They assumed, and I'm not even asking you the question, they assumed that the children were going to be supervised. They weren't. So you bear part of the responsibility for what happened, Miss Edwards. You may not believe that, but I'm telling you, you do. You didn't do the right thing. If one of their children was injured in your house at 7 o'clock in the morning when you left for school, you would be responsible. You invited them into your house, and you have a responsibility to supervise them. Unless you specifically speak to their parents and say, I will not be home after 7 o'clock in the morning. Could you please come over and stay with the kids? Or I'm going to send the boys home at 7 o'clock, because I think 4 teenagers home alone can sometimes be a little bit much unsupervised. So that's not excusing his behavior, but it doesn't excuse your son's behavior. It doesn't excuse your responsibility.
Your Honor, I had the understanding that the children would go home when I went to work.
Did you wake them up and send them home?
No.
That's why they're called teenagers. Because they don't do what they're told. He did the wrong thing by locking them out, because all he had to do was say, here are your CDs, right? And then wouldn't have any trouble. He did the wrong thing, he kicked in your door, damaged your property. None of it would have happened if you were home. If you were home and you heard the banging on the door, you would have answered the door. He said to you, Miss Edwards, I want my CDs. What would you have done?
I would have returned them.
Case closed. Finished. We wouldn't be here.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Then I understand you went to the defendant's home. He agreed to come and help fix the door. He did it, but he didn't do it to your satisfaction. It was not the finished job, so you went and hired someone else to do the job. How much did it cost to fix the door?
It cost $285.
Well, you're suing him for $235.
He made one payment in the amount of $50.
Okay. $285, and in my judgment, you're responsible for half of the door. Is that fair?
Yes.
Is that reasonable?
Yes, definitely.
That's fair. That to me is fair. Divided by 2 equals 142.5. Less 50, 92.50. That's what you owe for the door. 92.50. Now let's hear about your counterclaim.
PJ, the youngest son here, I had recently received a CD from his brother, one of his older brothers. He had made the CD with all his favorite songs, had a couple CDs that he had gotten from previous Christmas and a previous birthday.
So he made one CD out of his favorite music. Is that what you left at the house?
Yes.
Just one CD?
No, 3.
3. How many CDs were left at the house?
3.
What'd you do with them?
We have them with us.
Did you damage any of them?
I damaged one of them.
Why?
I was angry.
Stand up. What's your first name?
Rick.
Take your hands out of your pockets. Good. Did you damage the CD before or after he broke the door?
Before.
What were you angry at?
Because we had gotten into argument, he pushed me, and then they took off. And then when I was scratching up one of the CDs, they saw me through the window, so they came to the door and just kicked it in.
They saw you scratching up the CD through the window?
Yes, and that's why they kicked it in.
Okay. Bird, would you see to it that the 2 CDs that are okay are returned, please?
Sure thing.
How much do you think that CD that you scratched up is worth?
Maybe $10 to $15.
Is that what it's worth, $10 or $15?
Yes.
Fine, we'll take 15. I've deducted 15 from 92.50. That leaves 77.50. Go buy yourself a new CD and go fix your door. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $77.50. That's.
Yeah, this is case number 573 on the calendar in the matter of Dotson versus Lopez Gomez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ladies. Have seats.
Is this your sister?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dotson, according to what I read in your complaint, you and Mr. Lopez were in a relationship.
Correct.
That relationship terminated.
Correct.
On a date, which you will tell me, you went to the hairdressing shop.
Correct.
Owned by Miss Gomez.
Yes.
Where Mr. Lopez, her brother, works as a hairdresser.
Correct.
You went there for some reason about a bill or cell phone or something.
And to give him
And an altercation happened when you were there. You claimed that you were injured by Mr. Lopez, who cut you with a scissors in the face, and that when you were taken to the hospital, you were arrested there on assault charges, trespass, etc., on a complaint by both Miss Gomez and Mr. Lopez. So you are suing them both for your medical bills,
Correct.
as well as for the false arrest.
Correct.
And they say that you came in there and caused the disturbance, and the injuries that you sustained were a result of a disturbance that you caused.
Incorrect.
Is that pretty much it? Okay. How long were you and Mr. Lopez in a relationship?
6 months.
And at what point did this relationship terminate?
When he took my truck and said he was going to go home because he had to go home early and go to work, and that he had to go to work the next morning. Instead, he took my truck to his ex-boyfriend's house to do crystal.
When was that? That's more information than I needed. I needed a date.
That was okay, like the week before the 24th, so go back a week from the 24th.
When and why did you go to the hair salon?
Because he left his Social Security card and his driver's license and clothes and shoes and CDs at my house. And I called him and I told him I wanted to still be friends. Why don't you come and get your stuff, come over, and let's still be friends. And he said, talk to me, and he said we'd still be friends. And he called me the next day, which he...
He didn't, or he did?
He didn't call me the next day.
Did not call you the next day?
No, he said he would, and he didn't.
Okay, so he didn't call you back. Go ahead.
So when he didn't call me back the next day, I wrote him a letter, and also I gave him a cell phone bill that he was supposed to pay.
Where did you give him that bill?
I was going to give him the bill at the salon because he couldn't get a cell phone bill in his own name, so he had a cell phone that I had in my name.
So he had a cell phone bill, and what else? That you were going to give him a letter that you wrote to him?
A letter that I wrote to him that I still wanted to be friends.
Okay, so you had the cell phone bill and a letter, and you went to the salon.
And I went to the salon.
What date did you go to the salon?
The 24th of January.
What time?
11:30.
What happened when you got there?
Ursula was there.
Ursula. Who's Ursula? Raise your hand, Ursula.
She's not here.
Ursula's not here.
Ursula was one of the hairdressers. And Ursula, I was just going to drop off the letter and not wait because he was supposed to be there at 11 and it was 11:30 and I had to work at 2 o'clock. So I was just going to leave the letter, and Ursula insisted that I stay and wait for Tony. He'd be in at 12 and just wait for him. And then I decided to go sit in my truck and have a cigarette. Well, they drove up in the car and Tony got out. So I finished my cigarette. I went in and sat down, and he ignored me, and he was already cutting a client's hair. And he said, how come you didn't call me? I said, I did call you, and your mother hung up on me. After that, I said, how come you didn't call me?
And all this time he's cutting somebody's hair?
And he's cutting somebody's hair.
He's having this conversation while he's cutting somebody's hair?
Right.
Hate to be that client.
I told him to please go, Your
No,
Honor.
I'll get to you in a second.
Okay.
And then I said, how come you didn't call me? And then he says, you stupid, dumb hole. And that's when I got up I got up and I said, what did you say to me? And that's when he started cutting me up with his scissors, and I started blocking off like this, and he cut me here, cut me here, cut me here, cut me here, and blocked me off and blocked me out into the back of the door.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dean Dotson claims ex-boyfriend Tony Lopez attacked him with a pair of scissors. Dean says Tony then had him thrown in jail.
Can I see the hospital report, please?
And the pictures. And these pictures were taken 5 days afterwards, Your Honor.
Okay.
So that was 5 days after being in jail, and also I was harmed in jail too, violently harmed in jail while I was incarcerated.
Okay. Do I have a police report?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
And a restraining order.
And me what I asked for.
And Your Honor, I'd like to see that police report because I never got to see it.
Show it to you. Okay. This is a copy of the police report. Mr. Dotson wanted to see it. Listen to me carefully, Mr. Dotson. Both you and Mr. Lopez were present before the judge on the 19th of February of this year. The court made certain findings at that time. And did you have a hearing at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And after the hearing, the court granted Mr. Lopez a protective order against you, sir, until February 19th, 2004. Did you understand that?
Yes, ma'am. But everything he said on there was false, too. It was false statements. And everything that's in here is false statements, too. This is all. There was no F word said.
Mr. Dotson, I have a few questions for you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you were in treatment for any sort of substance abuse?
I don't do substance abuse. I have a drinking problem.
I know it's a drinking problem, Mr. Dotson. I can tell. Drinking is a substance problem, sir. Alcohol, when abused, is a substance problem. Yeah. On the date when you went to the hair salon, sir, I want you to think very carefully. You went in, he wasn't there yet. You went out to the truck to have a cigarette.
Right.
How much alcohol did you drink in the truck?
I didn't drink any alcohol in the truck. I drank the night before.
What about the morning?
I hadn't drank in the morning.
Did you drink this morning, sir?
No, ma'am. I've been 12 days sober, and I'm going to a psychiatrist right now. And I have the paperwork for it.
You take anti-abuse?
I take Depakote every night at 8 o'clock, 1,000 milligrams. But everything that is in this report is false.
Mr. Lopez, do you want to tell me, sir?
Substance abuser.
Do you want to tell me, sir, your version of the events of that day in the hair salon, please?
Okay, I came into work and I was working on my customer, Diana.
Now, at the time that you came into work, listen to me very carefully. At the time that you came into work, first you have to go in.
Yeah.
Did you see him inside?
No. He came in maybe 2 or 3 minutes later, and I told him to please leave.
No, he didn't. Ursula told me to come in.
And what happened when you told him to leave?
He came in from behind and put me in a headlock, and I have with my scissors in my hand, I start fighting my way out. Not wanting to scratch him or hurt him, but that's the only thing I had to do.
Ultimately, he left when he saw he was bleeding, according to the police.
I had to push him out the door where a couple of my other customers helped me keep him away from me.
Who called the police?
While the cops showed up. Ursula?
Yeah. I'm going to go back to a prior incident that happened around Christmas time. What happened at Christmas time?
He was just making harassing calls, saying that he would kill me and my family, burn down my house.
That's why he was with me on Christmas, New Year's Day and New Year's Eve at my house eating dinner.
When I tried calling 911, and his niece, Tamara, was there, who just laughed when I called 911.
Because he wasn't hurt, he was drunk. And she was there to testify that I didn't say any of those things. She was there at the time. She lived with us.
Just a second. She was there on January 24th?
Yeah, she went January 24th and went back to the shop and went to the truck and saw that there was no scratches on this young man. And she took the truck to get my truck that was at the salon.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
The police officer saw scratches on his arm.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
Did she come to the jail with your mother?
Yeah, she did.
How come you left that out of your story, Mr. Hunter?
I don't know.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dean Dotson claims ex-boyfriend Tony Lopez attacked him with a pair of scissors. Dean says Tony then had him thrown in jail.
You had no business going over to the shop that day, given the fact that there was already a temporary restraining order.
No, there wasn't. Oh, this was after the fact. No, this came after the fact. The restraining order came after I got out of jail, after 5 days after I was released out of jail. So there was no restraining order on me at the time.
So is what you're telling me, sir, the application for the restraining order was made as a result of this incident? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm telling them, yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
And that, because it's not really clear here, and that when the judge conducted a hearing on February 19th, it was with regard to this incident.
To the hair topic incident. Not to the Christmas incident. No, yeah, it was to the Christmas incident, but he put this into the Christmas incident, but I didn't receive it till after the day after I got out of jail.
Mr. Dotson, don't have anything to do with him anymore. The court has already determined to grant an order of protection to the defendant based upon a hearing, and I find no reason to disturb that. I don't think that you belonged in the shop that day. I don't know what your sobriety level was like that day. I don't care what Ursula did or did not say to you. You were told to leave the shop when he got in there. I don't know whether you were drinking or not in the... I'm speaking. I don't know whether you were drinking or not in the truck, sir. I could certainly tell, merely by looking at you and watching your demeanor, that you have an alcohol abuse problem. And I'm telling you, Mr. Dotson, that it doesn't sound right to me that you went into your truck to have a cigarette, to wait for him. You waited for him and gave him sufficient time to start working on somebody, and then went inside to the salon. Somebody who has an alcohol abuse problem needs a little bit of courage before they go in to confront somebody, and
No,
that's
I
what I
don't.
believe that you did. Anyway, your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's very confused right now. I'm sure he was drinking, so you can't really believe anything that somebody drinking says.
It's Tony who's has a drug and alcohol problem, and I think he's slightly, mildly mentally retarded.
He left about 30 phone calls, voicemails in about a couple hours, and he's just got strong emotional problems.
He's the one that needs help, not me. At least I'm getting help. He's still a doper and a drug addict and an alcoholic.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Harder versus Hunter. Step forward, please.
20-year-old certified nursing assistant Mary Lou Harder is suing her former friend, 19-year-old Sean Hunter, for an unpaid loan for bail. Sean claims the money was supposed to be a friendly gesture.
Ms. Harder, you claim a loan to the defendant for bail.
Yeah.
He was arrested for something he's going to tell me about. Mr. Hunter said that while you did post his bail for him, he never asked you to do it. It was not a loan. It was a gift. That's your defense, sir.
Yes.
What were you in jail for?
Aiding and abetting, which they overcharged it.
Aiding and abetting a what?
Assault.
Is this the first time you were arrested?
Yes, it was.
And what was the charge, sir?
They booked us with kidnapping and robbery.
Who's us?
Me and my 2 co-defendants.
They friends of yours?
Not anymore.
Tell me about the incident.
Well, I was living out in Nampa, Idaho, and I went and hung out with them, and his girlfriend got a call from one of their friends. You want to come to Boise, hang out, and we'll go have fun, go get my grandma's car. We said, okay, sure. So we went to Boise, picked him up. He said, we can't get my grandma's car until my mom leaves. We're like, why? He goes, because my mom can't know I'm taking it. So we asked him, okay, so you want to steal the car for you? He's like, yes. And we told him, no, we're not going to do that. Give us the gas money you promised us, and we're going to go home. And he ended up calling the cops and getting us arrested.
This other so-called friend of yours claimed that you had kidnapped him?
The kid who called us to Boise said that we just, because he had my friend's girlfriend's cell phone and was using it. And we told him, give us the cell phone back so you can go, because we're tired of arguing with you. And he just called the cops and got us arrested.
The charges were subsequently dismissed?
Yeah.
Were they dismissed, or
Yes,
did you
they were.
plead guilty?
I pled guilty to aiding and abetting. Sorry.
Now, how do you know him?
We're friends.
Okay, and when you got arrested, your bail was set at $25,000, $2,500 cash. Is that right?
Yes.
And how much money did you have?
I didn't have any, so I asked her defendant, Mike,
He's not a defendant.
or
He's a witness.
her witness, Mike.
You know, you really have to get the players fixed in a court case.
Yeah.
You're the defendant. She's the plaintiff. That's a witness.
Okay.
Court officer.
Judge.
Judge. Got it?
Got it.
So you called your friend Mike.
And I asked him to go downtown, talk to all my friends, get money to get me out. The next day, the bondsman came to me, signed me out of jail. Mary Lou's all, guess what? I asked her what. She goes, I bonded you out. And at the time, she never said, you got to pay me back right now.
Just a minute.
Or anything.
Hold on a second. Okay. Step up here. You are Michael.
Yeah.
What did he say when he called you?
He asked me to call his friends, like he said, and try to get some money, a bail amount.
Did you get any money?
And no, I didn't.
He has poor friends, or they don't like him, or what?
No, I couldn't get a hold of them. And tried their cell phones and everything. I couldn't get a hold of them.
So how did Mary Lou get involved in this?
His mom asked her to help out with the money, and
So his mother asked you to help. Is that right?
Sean, actually, we went over to the jail and saw him, found out what was going on. He asked me if he could borrow some money, and I said yes, I could loan him the money, the $1,250. I couldn't pay the full $2,500. and his mom agreed to pay the rest.
Did she come to jail to see you?
I don't remember asking her to loan me
I
the
didn't
money.
ask you whether you asked her for anything. I said, did she come to the jail with your mother?
Yeah, she did.
How come you left that out of your story, Mr. Hunter?
I don't know.
So it wasn't a total surprise to you. So the next thing you saw was not the plaintiff and your mother, and you didn't know how she got there. She had come to visit you in jail, and you spoke to her, and you spoke to your mother, and I'm sure you were anxious to get out of jail, and I'm sure you said, are you going to be able to bail me out? Does that sound right?
No, I just asked her to ask my friends to keep trying to get a hold of him so I can get out.
Now you remember distinctly.
Yeah.
How much does he owe you?
He owes me a total of $1,328.13.
So why didn't you pay it back?
Because I was out of a job and...
Are you in a job now?
No, I'm not.
Well, how do you support yourself?
My parents are helping me right now.
What do you do all day?
I look for a job and I help a friend with his job.
How long has it been since you've worked, sir?
It's been about a month and a half.
So prior to that, you were working?
Yes.
At what?
I was working at Bogus Basin, but I was trying to pay back the bondsman the rest of the money I owed him.
What about her?
I was going to pay her back.
There we go. Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,328. Bye.
Now, this is case number 536 on the calendar in the matter of Williams versus Torres Punzo. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Williams, you and the defendants used to be neighbors. I gather you've moved from the apartment that you used to have?
Yes.
All right. According to your complaint, the defendants embarked upon a course of conduct which amounted to malicious prosecution by filing a series of police reports against you. And that was in retaliation, according to you, for you calling in a hit-and-run charge against them when they hit someone's car in the parking lot in your complex.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendants say that everything that they complained about with regard to your conduct was true. The fact that they decided to drop all of the charges and just move has nothing to do with the fact that when they made those police reports, everything that they complained of was accurate. Okay. How long had you been neighbors?
I lived in the building for 7 years.
How long did you live there?
A year.
And when did you see them allegedly hit this other car?
June 22nd was about 12:25 a.m.
Who was driving the car?
Mr. Salvatore Punzo.
Who is that? Me. That's you. And was Mr. Torres the passenger?
I believe so, yes.
What do you mean you believe so?
Well, there was somebody else in the car, and I'm not sure exactly if he was sitting in the front seat or back seat, but he was the passenger in the car.
But Mr. Punzo was driving.
Correct.
What kind of car was he driving?
It's a tracker, looks like a small green Jeep.
And there's no question in your mind that it was the defendant, Mr. Punzo,
Absolutely.
driving. What did you see him do?
I had gotten into my car, I was going to the store, and my car was in the dark in a driveway, so they couldn't have known that I was there.
Don't tell me what they didn't. Just tell me what you saw.
I saw the defendant's car pull up across the driveway where I was parked and bump into another car. Now, after they bumped it, they kind of rolled back a little bit, and then they pushed into the bumper. I'm thinking that they were just creating a parking spot. I don't know what the intent was, but they pushed the car up some 7 or 8 feet.
And then did they leave their car there?
It was left there.
So what did you do?
I was just kind of shocked. I got out of my car and walked over to see if there was damage on the car. Mr. Punzo was walking away from the car, and he turned around and saw me, and he said, "What?" And I said to him, are you going to just hit this car and walk away? And he said, "I didn't hit that car." And I said, "Yes, you did." And he became a little bit irate. He told me to mind my own business. He called me fat and old and stupid looking and turned around and just left. And at that point, I said, well, I'm just going to call the police.
Now, what actions do you attribute to the defendants with regard to this malicious prosecution?
There were a number of things that would happen. They would walk by my balcony. I had several instances where my car had damage. Things of
Tell
that
me
nature.
about the prosecution, sir. What did they charge you with?
Harassment. On the 1st of August, they had called the police and said that I had called their home the night before 3 different times and threatened that I was going to get their car. They also called the next day because allegedly their car had been broken into.
And they said that you were responsible for that?
Yes, they did.
You have a copy of those reports?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them, please.
This is the copy of the incident report with some reductions, naturally, from the police department. As a defendant, I don't have right to see a lot of those things.
Mr. Punzo, whatever happened with the car that you allegedly hit?
Okay, first of all, he had to change the glass because that night it wasn't Joe, the one that was in the car with me. It was my other friend.
Did you hear my question, sir?
What was your question?
Don't be a wise guy with me. It's not going to go here.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
The question was, what happened with the car that you allegedly hit on June 22nd?
Nothing. The police asked me, like, did you hit the car? I said, I just bumped a little bit in the car when I was trying to park.
Whose car was it?
Somebody else's that we don't even know. So we left a note on the windshield, as the police indicate, with our number and our address.
And the police left?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
They left.
And then they left?
Mm-hmm.
And you went back to your house?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And left the note on the car?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Sure you did. Okay. Go ahead.
With that report and a series of photographs, the defendants tried to get a permanent restraining order against me. The judge did not give them a restraining order. However, she did say that if they wanted an anti-harassment order stating that I would not call their house, that she was going to grant me the exact same identical thing, which she did. A copy of both reports. Mine's on the bottom.
What happened next?
6 weeks later, the letter and the summons charging me with harassment that I had to appear in court, that I was facing 1 year in prison. That
Right, okay.
I went through the entire legal system, pre-trials, intakes, attorneys, continuance hearings, and 5 days before the jury trial, my attorney approached the prosecution to give them some idea of the history of this case, and that I was bringing a transcript of that hearing to the jury trial, and the next day they came back and dismissed the case without prejudice. The docket, the city has put on here their reasoning for why they dismissed the case. Sometime between the conversation between my attorney and the city's attorney, and the next day, the witnesses became uncooperative. And in the police report, Mr. Torres claims to have called the police, reported that things were stolen out of his car. Yet in the hearing itself, Mr. Punzo testified that he was the one that called the police and that nothing in his car was taken. His wallet and his passport were in the floorboard of the car, but that his passport was ripped up. I have a photograph of the defendant's passport in the floorboard of their car, and it does not look ripped up.
How did you get that photograph?
He submitted it in court.
Can I see it? Got it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He started like talking, like insulting. And so I totally exploded of that. And I told him, like, you know what's your problem? You need attention because you're fat and ugly.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Williams says former neighbors Joe Torres and his boyfriend Salvatore Punzo filed false charges of harassment against him.
Okay, anything else you want to tell me, Mr. Williams?
I'm done.
Good. Go. Who's speaking?
Well, I just want to say that we lived there. We started becoming roommates with friends with his roommate, and that's when it all started. His roommate let us know that he was out of a job, and I don't know if it had something to do with the way he acted towards us and wanted to get in our lives and, make up,
Mr. Torres.
Yes.
Let's not make more of this than what it is, sir.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
You weren't in the car, according to Mr. Punzo.
I was not.
The plaintiff says he saw Mr. Punzo hit another car, which he did. Now, whether he tapped it or hit it and actually moved it doesn't make a difference. He hit another car, and he was walking away without checking the damage, without leaving his name and number. Put your hand down, I'm speaking. So Mr. Williams said, what are you doing? Now, I don't know whether Mr. Punzo opened up a fresh mouth to him. Like, what are you looking at? Which is what he says. Based upon Mr. Punzo's prior statement in court, let him get glasses. It wasn't Mr. Torres, I think is what he said. So he's got a fresh mouth. To the judge, he's got a fresh mouth. In the parking lot, who knows what he might have said? But he certainly didn't say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I had hit it. Right, Mr.
But he
Punzo?
did,
And you weren't there. So what I want to know is what it is that you complained of, and why is it that you decided to drop these charges 5 days before the trial?
I did bump the other car. I didn't bump it 8 feet. So then when I got off the car, I went and I looked. There was no damage to that car.
Really? What time was it that you looked at?
That was like right after I parked the car.
What time of the day?
And that was at night, like around midnight.
When it was dark?
Yeah, when it was dark.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I went there and I looked at the car and I passed my hand to see if there was any, and there was nothing. And then he said, like, what are you doing? That's a felony. And I said, like, what? There's nothing wrong with the car. And then he said, well, I'm calling the police. And I said, like, well, do what you have to do. And then I went to my apartment. Then the police came in and all that. We filled up the report. And then he started, like, talking, like insulting. So I insulted him back.
Well, what did he say to you?
He started calling me, like, homosexual slangs. And I said, like, how can you dare to call me homosexual slang?
So what did you call him?
I call him back names.
Okay, so now the two of you were calling each other names. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't really care about that part. The part that I care is when he started discriminating me with racial discrimination, like calling me like, you Mexican, go back to Puerto Rico.
Well, he's getting his geography wrong.
Yeah. And then he said, like, you need to get out of this country because that's the bad thing in this country. I said, first of all, my nationality is not Mexican, not Puerto Rican, and for your information, Puerto Rico is U.S. territory.
So you gave him a good geography lesson.
Exactly. Then the other part that he said that he was hanging in his balcony, I was coming back from the track, and he was talking with his friend on the phone, and he started saying on the phone like something, oh yeah, this like Nelly, that is like 5-foot Nelly. He was referring to me. And I said, like, what are you talking about? I said, yeah, they think that they can do whatever they want, hit the car and get away with that. But they're going to get evicted. And then I went in front of his balcony because he lives on the first floor. I said, like, what is wrong with you? Can you leave us alone? We went to the police, we did the report, and then he went back again with the Mexican and this and that, and go back to your country and blah, 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 blah. And so I totally exploded of that. And I told him, like, you know what? You know what's your problem? You need attention because you're fat and ugly. And I am sorry that I insulted him like that. But
we're not talking
I
about
got
you
really
insulting
hurt.
him. We're talking about malicious prosecution.
Well, he said that we totally malicious prosecution to him. Like, how do you feel like working from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., going back home and being there all the time? So I told Joe.
So you told Joe and you called the police.
I called the police.
What happened next?
Then after that, my car appeared the next morning, like the soft top was ripped off, everything. The car's been parked there 6 months before, never happened. It's been parked after all this incident, and nothing happened. I will leave the car even open on the street, and nothing will happen.
Well, you're one of the few people in the United States of America who leaves their car open and their wallet inside, sir.
And then that day, I went to the car.
What day?
2 days after we have the incident.
You mean in June?
Mm-hmm.
June 24th?
Yeah, there was the date when he was in his balcony. So then after 2 days of that, I assumed that he was the one that did it because...
Maybe it was the owner of the car that you hit in the parking lot.
No.
How do you know?
Because, first of all, we left our number and everything. He could have called us.
No, I don't believe you did, sir.
We did it.
Then after that, we went back to our apartment and we were watching through the window, and the only person that was around the other car was Mr. Williams.
Mm-hmm. So you think he might have taken the note off?
We don't even know if the note has been taken off or not.
But you also don't know who damaged your car, right?
We do have him threatening us, saying that he would. We're going to feel what it's like.
Oh, really? Tell me about who got that phone call.
I got one of the phone calls.
When was that?
Well, here it's 7:31.
7:31, sir, is 6 weeks later.
This is a different incident. This is a different.
I'm talking about this incident.
That didn't happen at that incident.
Well, he says it happened 2 days later, 2 days after June 22nd.
There was two different incidents. One
Fine.
was a scratch.
Who got the phone call?
I received one of them.
In July.
And 7:31.
Tell me what the phone call said.
You're going to know what it feels like.
Really? And Mr. Williams identified himself?
No, he didn't say, but the ID caller did.
That doesn't help me, sir. You have a copy of that telephone call?
I don't have
that
the copy.
message?
I just have the photograph of the ID.
Did you ever call him and threaten him?
Absolutely not.
No, I don't believe that you did. I don't believe you're a stupid man.
but I can explain exactly what did happen.
Go ahead.
My roommate at the time, Ammon Taylor, was having problems with his car that day. He hadn't called them in sometime before, hadn't called them sometimes after, but he called them 3 times on July the 31st from my phone.
Why, sir?
My starter was out, and I needed somebody to help me push start my car so I could go get it fixed.
So you called them?
I did call them. I had known them from before.
Did you make any threatening statements to them?
No, they never answered the phone, and I never left the message on their voicemail.
Okay. My question is, you filed the complaints and you accused him of doing it. And I assume you wanted vindication. Is that right? Vindication.
Your Honor, we wanted him away from us entirely. We wanted to get away from him.
I assume you wanted vindication. So what I don't understand is, after you've gone through the entire process, what made you drop the charges 4 days before the trial?
Okay, actually, I was the one that I told Joe, just let's forget about it.
Why 4 days before the trial?
Because, Your Honor, Salvatore has a lot of stress, okay? And we go to the doctor because he has ulcers in his mouth.
Well, then maybe if you had gone to trial, which would have lasted 1 day, all the stress would have been gone.
But it keeps lasting
I have
on and
a
on.
note from my doctor saying what caused my stress and what caused all my ulcers in my mouth.
Really?
Yeah.
Your doctor was able to say that? I wish I look. Let me see that. I usually don't look at these notes, but I would like to look at this note to see this genius. Stress. You get the situation from stress, right? Mm-hmm. When was the first time in your life that you suffered from this kind of stress that caused
in
this
July last year.
And so you're telling me this situation is the situation that caused stress in your life?
Part of it. A big part of it.
What was the other part, sir?
Well, being discriminated. That's the big part of it.
I don't believe you.
Well, I believe myself because I felt the discrimination.
I don't believe you, sir. If it's true that the ulcers in your mouth were caused by stress, this wasn't the stress. And when you said part of it, you want to give me what the other part was or not?
Well, the regular life and then plus all this incident have to live 24 hours with this.
I think you're a wise guy, Mr. Punzo. And I think that you created a situation and made complaint against Mr. Williams in retaliation for him creating a problem for you with the police by reporting to the police that you had hit a car in a parking lot and didn't stop. I, A, do not believe that you went over to the car to check for damage. B, I do not believe that you went over to the car and took your hand and rubbed it across the bumper to see if there were any scratches. Don't believe you did that at all. Okay. Because I think that if you did that, I don't think that he would have gotten involved. What I think happened is you got out of the car and you just walked away. And I think that it irritated him. And I think that Mr. Williams may have overreacted at certain times and said things that he shouldn't have. I think that he did. And I think that you overreacted and said things that you shouldn't have. I believe that that happened too. I believe that you both said certain things that were hurtful and not neighborly to one another. Is that true, Mr. Williams?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Is that true, sir?
Yes.
Fine. But then you took it a step further. And the step further was that you started to make police reports against him. And the reason that I'm comfortable that you did that in retaliation for him filing a police report against you is that 4 days before the trial you decided to drop the charges after he had already been substantially inconvenienced.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How much did it cost you, Mr. Williams?
I had no legal fees. My attorney was accounted through Associated Counsel for the accused.
Okay. You're not supposed to abuse the legal system. The legal system is not for childish vendettas. When boys prank against each other, that's their business. When they use the court system and the police department to do that, that's something else. He can call you names, you can call him names, he can talk about where you come from, he can tell you to go back to where you came from. Those are all nasty things. That does not require a call to the police and accusing him of the commission of a crime. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500, Jeff, to be drawn to your favorite charity. Thank you.
Hello guys, ये मुर्गी के बच्चे हैं जिसमें हम कलर करेंगे, तो देखिएगा हम कलर कैसे करते हैं। वीडियो पसंद आए लाइक करें, शेयर करें, कमेंट करें। सबसे पहले हम येलो कलर करते हैं। ऑरेंज कलर करते हैं। गाइस हमारा कलर कंप्लीट हो गया है, आपको कैसा लग रहा है हमें कमेंट करके ज़रूर बताएं।